ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Middle-earth. I am the Clown Prince of Wed Rhine, Travis Snail, and I'm joined by...
I'm the Big Ween, Kirkland Patzer.
I am the eater of dragon bones, Dylan Muss.
Hey, good guy Sauron, Taylor Field.
Good guy Sauron. So, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, we're GeekVerse. You know what we do here. We usually have 3 to 4 podcasts, whether they're review-related, newscast-related, video game-related, retro-related, just like we just dropped Beetlejuice retrospective. Go check that out. Beetlejuice reviews happening next week, and a whole slew of many other things. That's why you should join Patreon, because every week I drop the schedule so you know. But we'll talk a bit about that later. Just subscribe, and you get everything we do. And if you like TV show stuff, we're getting back in the thick of it, because soon it's going to be Rings of Powers for the next 5 weeks, Agatha for 7 weeks, and then Penguin for 8 weeks. So we're there for all of them. Kirkland's face looked pain. He's like, I just went through this with June.
No, I keep thinking about that clip, and it's so good.
Oh God, what are you showing me? Yeah, bastards. Everyone got not everyone, but no Batman screening here. I was so bummed about it. But we did get a screening of Rings of Power, season 2. Episodes 1 to 3. If you're interested, we did review every single episode. So if you want to do a deep dive, they are there. I would just recommend maybe going to the finale because we kind of give our overall thoughts. And then if you're interested in anything Lord of the Rings related, we've done a bevy of content for that. We've reviewed every film. So all the Peter Jackson ones. We reviewed every animated film. We have reviewed, there was a Lord of the Rings games cast, I recall. Yeah, side quest episode. So there is a plethora of stuff, and we'll be here in a couple of years. If that Gollum movie comes out, we'll be here because we're Middle Earth boys. You know, this shirt a couple of years ago, I'm wearing it right now. We had a GeekVerse extra exclusive. Like, I feel like this is one of the things we bond over. So it's a good thing that Middle Earth is back. Or is it? And that's what we're going to get into. So, Taylor, I'm going to sit back and drink my red wine that Sauron gave me. It's the reddest wine you'd ever seen.
Is that a lime Ricky? Different color? Or what's
no,
going on
it's
here?
just grape. It's just Minute Maid grape. Okay. So, yeah, if people thought I was busting out the first time drinking for Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power Season 2 premiere, no, you're mistaken. It's just some good Minute Maid grape. But it's actually quite underrated. But so it's not as good as the red wine that Sauron's dishing out to people, apparently, before he fucks them.
That's a tall glass, though. You're
But
right at
it is
the
a
brim there.
If that was wine, yeah, you would be... That's like half a bottle.
It's going to be a good cast, boys. Can't wait to play Outlaws after. Woo! But I'm going to start with Mr. Field. What do you think of... Give a brief overall, your elevator pitch to people if they weren't with us for Season 1, your thoughts on Season 1, or what you can remember, and then go into your non-spoilers for episodes 1 to 3 for this season. And if you've not seen it, of course, we'll give you a warning before we get into spoilers. So, Taylor, the floor is yours.
I am very thankful for the recaps because fuck if I could remember much of Season 1.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on, a lot of stories, a lot of slow dynamics that when I revisiting in the recap, thought, okay, yeah, that happened, check. But it got us to where we are now. There are definitely some things that were introduced into that first season that I like. A lot of characters and a lot of dynamics that were a lot of fun to explore. And just this part of Middle Earth back in this day. And getting to see where these stories have kind of picked up and continued, I'm enjoying it. There are a few things that I do have problems with. Like you and me, Travis, were talking earlier about like a couple.
Well, you messaged me. I have your number blocked, so I don't know what those said, but...
He doesn't care to discuss with us, Kirkland, but he's
yeah,
straight to Travis.
like us,
So good to know.
I knew Taylor was watching it at midnight, all right? All right.
Travis
Calm
came
down,
to me.
everybody. I did. I had a
I'm
big
getting conflicting reports over here. I don't know what's going on.
I had a big complaint that I had to go to Taylor because I knew he'd seen at least episode 1. Like, I don't know what
At
this.
least episode 1, yeah. But there is there's some things going on in this that I like, and yeah, some other things that are just they're highlighting. It's like, oh, that's kind of questionable. It doesn't add up. And I have one kind of, I don't know how I would say it. I guess maybe it's like maybe 2 problems with the story. Maybe I will defer to you guys on answering those 2 issues I have because I feel like it's kind of muffled a little bit because I don't know.
Get ready to get blasted with some lore questions.
I'm gonna blast you.
You get one thing wrong, 1-star review coming. They don't know anything about Middle Earth.
Like
Go read the Similarian.
Well, that's just it. My knowledge of Middle Earth is pretty limited, but I was trying to dish it out to Mass and be like, oh, you know, we got the E-Star, we got
you're
the
supposed to watch the
Valar,
show.
and,
Don't try to dish
and
it
all
out
that.
to
I'm just trying to name off all these terms. Like I know E-Star and Valar and all that stuff, but and Numenor. But yeah, I think
She just make love to me already. It's been weeks.
the Sealdor.
I'm still there, not himself.
There were some pretty hype moments though in these first 3 episodes, and this isn't a spoiler, but just like revisiting the locations and the score clicks in and it drops like the title of like where we're at. It's like, oh, this is cool. I'm getting super pumped about this. But yeah, I feel like these first 3 episodes just kind of like trickled in a couple of familiar things from Lord of the Rings that we like. Maybe I just like. I won't speak for you guys, but it was just cool to kind of see these familiarities, and it didn't feel like it was a sellout or anything that was like a cash grab or anything playing on the heartstrings too much, but just like, no, these things fit with the story that they're trying to tell, fit with the world building. But I'm excited to get into the spoilers because of certain problems, not the problems I have that are kind of convoluted with the overall plot or the story, but just certain things and decision making and whatnot. And yeah, I've tried to avoid being online and seeing what people are saying about the episode because I saw like a brief.
There's one
brief
meme that
comments.
keeps going around, which I'm on board with. Of like, I think
I know what you're talking
I think we
about.
went a little too far on this aspect here, but
Yeah. But I passed my torch to someone else.
I'm trying to think. Let's take a
wants
shot,
it?
Mr. Muss. Mr. Muss.
Yeah, I think for me going into this, like I was not excited for this season. I liked the first season enough. I didn't love it. It wasn't as magical to me. I think what I remember the most is just like the amazing visuals, and there were some storylines that I really, really loved, and other ones that were more mid on. And I think the biggest issue I had with the first season was just Sauron in general, even though a lot of it wasn't really revealed until kind of the end. And even then, we still had to do some guesswork there. And even like going into this, I think every newscast where a trailer would have come up for this, I think I was just not on that week. So I hadn't seen any trailers for this going into it. And then I was even thinking about starting season 1 versus 2. Obviously, season 1, there was a new thing. We didn't know what to expect at the time. We had some trailers, but it was like a kind of a new realm for Lord of the Rings. So there's kind of a question mark there. But then also, when I went to for the first season, they had like that limited screening at a movie theater. So I went and saw the first 2 episodes in a theater. Versus this season, I started like watching here on my like computer monitor in my office, and then when Muds was gone, I went and watched it on the TV out there. So it felt a lot less grand and enticing than the first season, at least to get started here. And is this another 8 episode season as well?
I believe so. Yeah.
So yeah, like we're already almost halfway through after the first week. I think doing the first 3 episodes was a good idea because I feel like this was very, very slow start for me. Or there's a lot of the episodes going in, there's like little mini plots, and then they all kind of like get resolved. And then there obviously, of course, there's still a lot of overarching things, but I just felt like we were kind of setting up some tension, but then the things just got resolved in like very unsatisfactory ways. So overall, I'm not really enjoying this a lot so far. I can't even say there's a couple storylines that I'm enjoying yet because I haven't gotten to that point, which is too bad because right off the hop of the first season, there was things I was already pretty intrigued by. But I just feel like there's been a lot of like, I don't know, padding it feels like in this season so far. So hopefully it goes a different direction. And yeah, I definitely have some questions because there's, once again, my man Sauron here is just, there's some things that I either just don't understand or it's just not working for me. So I definitely need to pick your guys' brains on some of that stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't really have a ton of positives yet, which is crazy after, like, because the first episode was pretty long. So like 3.5 hours of content. I think ish. So yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that it picks up, but
To be clear, the first episode's not 3.5 hours. If people are listening on spoilers, it's 3.5 together.
the first
There you go.
episode's like an hour and a half, right? Then another 2 hour. So 3.5
It's the
hours.
way you said like that first. I was like, oh man, someone's like, that's the whole
To Kirkland's
fellowship.
point, maybe with the ad prime,
Those fucking prime ads in
prime
there.
ads,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it becomes that long. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not super hyped so far. With that being said, there is a couple things that seem kind of compelling as we get down the line here. So hopefully it picks up for me next week.
Well, if you haven't noticed, you might be newer, but if you're a long-time listener, I think you've probably noticed I try to stick to a formula here when I do the overalls and whatnot, right? Usually I leave someone who, like, it's a big franchise to last. That's why Kirkland's gonna go last, because we say he's the token boy. And I had an inkling that Taylor was maybe more positive, so I let him go first. And then I was letting Dylan go first because I thought there's maybe
second first, you mean?
second first, because maybe there's a chance he was also
second first.
positive as well, but then he wasn't. So then I unfortunately got to come in here and be that same route where I watched 3.5 hours Middle Earth today. I don't know. The percentage of my enjoyment was very small. And this is coming from a guy who, like, I think I gave season 1 like a 9 out of 10 or an 8.5 out of 10. Now, I did not get to finish the rewatch. It just was a combination of I kind of forgot it was this week. Emily and the kids end up being at home a lot more times. I just didn't feel like taking over the TV and busting over. Outlaws ended up, we got to play it a few days early, so that's where it's like, okay. So just things didn't line up. So I got about 3 episodes in, and I've told myself that I might do, I said in a cast, or like a machete order where watch some of this, go back, etc. But even that first season, not perfect, but I still even found the first 3 episodes like way more enthralling. And of course it's tough because it's like an origin, right? We know these characters, but you're meeting them in this new world, new time, new iterations of the actors, right? So now it's like, okay, that's the setup, and now we're here. And I just I don't have with Dylan where I don't have it's luckily it's not like Acolyte. It's not anything where I'm like, man, we've lost the match, it's really bad. I don't think I'd say this is a bad show. I think there are some choices that aren't great, and maybe they could teeter into bad, but I can never say it's a bad show, but it's also not a show that's right now making me care about anything. And the few things I did care, or because I think me and Taylor were more positive on Sauron at the end of season 1. We were kind of like, at least myself, I was like I think they set it up in a way where, okay, we can go a certain path, let's do this. Like, I was optimistic. And I remember we were talking in the Discord with Mike, and he was talking about like, oh, he heard, some reviews saying it's a lot like season 1. And I was like, well, that's fine with me because I like season 1. But now there is a point where I go, especially for 2.5, I guess an episode and a half, there's stuff that we're going on with Sauron and other characters where it's just like, there's huge plot lines like in episode 1. I'm like, I don't think we needed this at all. I don't think this needs to be in the show. I don't think we got anything from it. So I think there's general, just like the first season, it's slow, but it's like right now it's an uninteresting slow. It's not like House of Dragon where I know they're medieval times, but I'm just comparing that because that's sometimes deemed as like, oh, it's a slow show. But it's like there's these characters that are having these conversations that I'm just enthralled with, where here it's like, I don't know, these people have an argument and the dwarves sing at the mountain and I just don't care. Like, I'm not caring about any of these characters, and the characters I were caring about, they did some things that that's why I had to talk to her, I did not enjoy, and now I don't really care about them. And it just sucks because I feel like this show has been even more so, because I didn't think this was season 1. I just feel like some things are kind of dumbed down a little. I don't know why. It's just a vibe, and I will give explanations when we get there. Still visually looks good, except there's some really bad bug CGI at one point in the show. Is whatever. Some wizard breaks open a tree and these bugs came out. I was like, what's going on here? Did Amazon say no bud budget? But other than that, looks good. Score is good. There's some times they are getting so close to Howard Shore's score. I was like, can Warner Brothers sue these people? Because like there's some notes that are almost identical to the Jackson movies. They're getting really close.
Notes, man. Notes.
They gotta be careful because that's not a token thing. That's Howard Shore and Warner Bros. Everything. So like I said, pause. And I don't think there's, other than one character, which I'm not gonna rag on. We ragged on him enough last year. He's still not great. There's a certain character in here that's just, I'm just gonna say it's a miscast. It is tough to watch this gentleman on screen, and I don't think he's like a terrible actor, but it's tough. Other than that, I don't think it's like bad acting. It's just so for me, this is maybe my most disappointing thing of 2024 so far, and the year's almost over. But I was more hyped, and I loved the season 1, and that's why now I want to rewatch it, because now I'm like, okay, maybe on a second rewatch I was wrong, but so far what I've rewatched in season 1 I've enjoyed. So this was a big letdown for me. I'm hoping it picks up, but to have like 3.5 hours of content and not really have much really big positive things to say is not a great confident booster for me. So big disappointment on my end. So I'll throw it over to Kirk and Patzer.
Yeah, this is This is one I really did wish I watched season 1 again, like beforehand, just because there was a lot of details I just was fuzzy on. I'm thankful for the recap going into it, but yeah, I just as soon as the first episode started, I'm like, man, I feel ill prepared for this show. Just pulling from last season, and you know, if you checked our reviews last season, got my overall thoughts there. Like I feel like my positives on the show are pretty much the same of like what season 1 was, where visually I think they're doing such a great job of just building the world of Middle Earth. Like it looks really fantastic. All the costumes and just like some of the visuals that were given, it's very, very impressive what they're able to do. And I feel like I'm really looking for like, okay, no, like like it's an hour and yeah, 30 for the first episode and like an hour or so on each episode after that.
It's
and
like
I'm
58 to an hour 02. It's somewhere.
I'm
in
looking
there.
for like a random someone in the back to look fuzzy, or like a random creature to be like, okay, like where did they really slip up on the CGI, Travis? You said the bugs. I didn't really mind the bugs at all. I found like
bad
throughout the
bugs.
entire 3 episodes, I was just blown away visually. I thought it looked so amazing, and I thought the same for season 1. And like my characters that I really loved, I feel like I still really love them again, and like that's where, because I didn't watch the first season, I feel like I kind of was more positive maybe than I was expecting, because I had just really low it feels weird to say like really low expectations, but I just, because of going through season 1 and kind of getting a feeler for where we're going with the story and certain characters and their motivations and just certain characters interacting with each other and just kind of accepting like this story, whereas, you know, like some of the source material that they're pulling from, because they deviated from that in like various areas from season 1, and there still are continuing on. I'm just like, okay, this is just the rules of engagement. I know how to prepare myself now, and I feel like because of that, I was able to just enjoy it a lot more, which is weird. I might be the most positive out of all of us for these first 3 episodes. I still have like the same complaints, I think, from the first season. I will say though, for our main big bad, I am actually quite enjoying what's happening after I think after episode 1. Like once we're getting, minor spoiler, into Aragion and stuff like that. Like I feel like I agree with you guys. Not a lot did happen, especially if you compare it to something like House of the Dragon. I feel like it's a pretty safe show to compare it to, just because of like, well, it's a fantasy realm, but also just the scale of world that we're kind of dealing with, and a lot of different moving factions. Because like I do think it's a great idea that we had 3 episodes for this start, because like there's no way we would have been able to touch on all of our same characters from the first season. Like it was nice how it was kind of spaced out in that way. Even though not a lot happened, I still feel that because we were visiting various characters in different areas of the realm, we're able to see kind of more the macro changes that are happening in the world right now. And by that I mean just how everything is shifting after the events of season 1, and how the world is kind of feeling the effect of our big bad like doing the next stage of his plan. And I feel like for me that's the most exciting part about it. So just kind of like the discourse that's starting to fracture maybe the order that's around the world. And I love how we're able to kind of visit the different realms, whether it's the Numenorians or the dwarves in Khazad-dûm, and just kind of like feel everyone start to feel something nefarious is at play here. So for me, I feel like I just really enjoyed that going forward. I'm curious if that hinders or sways going forward, but like we do have a great big battle that was shown in the trailers that we still have to lead up to. So I am actually optimistic, I think, even after these episodes going forward, and because of where we are with Sauron and kind of what's going on with him and other people around him, I'm intrigued as to what's to come. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that by the end of because I feel like I was kind of going on like a roller coaster ride while watching these episodes, where it's like, oh, I hate this decision, this is awful, and then there'll be just some great visual piece. I'm like, man, this is just eye candy. I'm really loving this. The budget for the show is, I don't even remember what it is, but it's just like
It's outrageous,
insanely high.
yeah.
Yeah, it's insanely high, and it is unfortunate that maybe there's not more memorable moments to kind of shout out, but I'm hoping that maybe by the end of the season, I'm able to look at it as just like a really solid start to finish story, because I feel like Tolkien's stories in general they're not sprints, you know,
No.
like Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Lord of the Return of the King, like those are marathon type adventures, and they should feel that way because it is just a very grand adventure. But I think just the pacing didn't really bother me in that sense, but it also, I guess, helped that my expectations were a little bit adjusted because of that first season. So yeah, I'm curious how I'm gonna feel by the end of it because, like I said already, like I'm just able to maybe accept now the rules of what's going on in this world. You know, I'm not getting Celeborn. Maybe one day. Where is Celeborn? I would so like very much to speak to him.
That's Galadriel's husband, right?
Yeah, Galadriel's
Oh, he's
husband.
coming. He's coming.
Like, I know, but it's just I feel like from season 1, I was like expecting to see those sort of things, and yeah, that's just where we're at. But no, it's good, and definitely Howard Shore isms I got from the score. You're not alone there, Travis. I was just eating it up because I just love that soundtrack. But yeah, definitely a just question, my liege.
There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this should be an interesting one. So we're getting into spoilers. We're going to take our first ad break, and then we'll get into it. So we'll be right back. And we're back. And if you want to just get into it and not hear anything, no ads, go to Patreon where you get episodes ad-free, early, and exclusive. Everything we do is up there ad-free. This weekend we'll be dropping an episode of The Originals, which was a fascinating, we talked about life and world in 5 billion years and ringing bells and graveyards and how we're going to die, or not that, but what we're going to do with our bodies. It was a very different type of Originals episode, so check out that. And that's the best way to support us. You can, we just reviewed Children of Men. We're going to be reviewing Promising Young Women. If you want us to review something on there, you can become a Patreon producer. There's tons of tiers and tons of benefits. You can go there and choose, and we would very much appreciate if you can spare some change. We would thank you very much because we are independent channeled, and you guys keep it running. You support all these extra shows and reviews. So, okay, let's do Sauron first. I want to talk about Sauron. Yes. I feel like we all want to go there. Yeah, hell yeah. So, okay, so Mr. Vickers here, like the actor still. Again, I don't have any really complaints with him here. So we do this the show starts not with a flashback, but it's a flashback for us, right? Because they didn't show us in season 1. So this is in season 1, Adar, so yeah, I killed Sauron, right? So they show us, okay, here's a scene of them assassinating Sauron in his chambers here. And anyway, so yeah, they kill him, all good and dandy. He blows up into an ice monster. Which also, Kirk, I have a question, is because he can take many forms. Could he take the form of a woman?
Yeah. I can't see why not.
Just feel like that one might have been a smart move for him. Everyone's looking for a dude, but I digress. Just when he bumped into that woman, and we never knew what happened to her. So we bump into her, and we see his transformation to Halbrand, takes her his clothes, cool. And then we meet Galadriel on the boat. But in between that, he meets us like these men and these villagers and everything like that. And anyone can take the stick here. Anyone can answer what I'm missing here, because I'm glad to be wrong. But I don't know if I need this like crisis of conscience that Sauron's having in these moments here. And we have this guy telling him, like, well, if you pick the good path and you stick to it, it'll become nature. It's like, I don't need, and Sauron's over here crying, like, I don't need any of this. Like, I think we've, as a movie culture, maybe overcorrected after Thanos, where it's like, man, every villain we got to feel for them. We got to understand. No, like, Sauron to me should just be power hungry. And I'm not saying he has to be dumb, but I did not understand why is any character trying to make us care about Sauron, I don't know, learning good nature? It did not track for me at all. So in the first 10 minutes, I'm like, we're off to a bad start for me personally, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't love the opening at all of like I really wasn't a fan of just how it started with Sauron from this point on. I didn't really get that from the conversation at all. It's more so just like he's not even born again. It's just like I feel like he has to
but they're
rethink
doing
his
shots
entire
where he's
strategy.
sitting there and he's like looking
like at the fire. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like he's looking.
I did not get like sad eyes in that moment. I found like vengeance.
He's got tears in his eyes at that point.
like Anakin level eyes. That's what I was getting. Like just looking into the fire.
It felt like it was a reevaluation because he really didn't think that he was going to get fucked up by his crew, right?
I don't know. I feel like I look at it a bit differently. I'm almost looking at it the same way as I'm looking at still called the Stranger, but he's definitely Gandalf at this point. I would assume.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, he has some disposition of him that he's a good guy, or once again, if I'm assuming it's Gandalf, maybe it's Saruman, because we've seen how there's like different sides to him, right? But he's like trying to piece it together, and like it takes time for that to happen. And so, I don't know where the lore puts like the wizards versus like what Sauron is as a being. But I kind of feel like that's what happened. Like when he turned into the fucking ooze, slips down to the cave, cuts the black, comes back. Who knows how long that amount of time is? But to me, it's almost like he's like recalibrating. And so he's probably pulling from all these different, I don't know, personality traits. And we're kind of slowly getting to that disposition.
Well,
but I don't know, maybe he even thought he could just like control those people, or they could be a good starting point. Whereas if he just kept walking down that road, there would have been like nothing there for him. So I guess I interpreted that one scene differently, but that to me, what it felt like when he was kind of just bumbling around in the first episode, that's kind of the vibe I was getting, is that he was just kind of like, he was almost like a newborn baby. Like he was like having to rediscover the world a little bit, not like fully from scratch, and definitely not to the extent that the Stranger was. So I don't know what the difference would be there, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was taking out of it.
I think like a reoccurring issue that I have with the show in general is just like the scale of time is kind of hard to figure out, because there
I had another
is
beef with that in like episode 3 for sure.
there is obvious time jumps, like from the time that Sauron dies. Like it's not like the next day he just becomes venom and starts slurping up centipedes and rats and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like to get his like form back, it's like hundreds of years like to get to that point. So that, and like they don't even really touch upon that at all. It's just like it shows him in the cave. It doesn't even show like 5 years later or anything like that. It's just like lighting kind of changes, and then he starts like moving again. So it's really not clear at all how much time has passed in that point. But to answer your question, Dylan, like the Astari, which is what Gandalf, Sauron,
Right.
all those guys are, they're all Maiar, and Sauron was a Maiar at some point. So they were basically the same type of being, just like how you and me are both humans. Like it like they're basically on the same level. I think Sauron was like much stronger than what they were, just when they were all in their other realm. But for Gandalf, I feel like it makes kind of more sense for him to be just completely like amnesia'd of like when he comes back to Earth, because it's like he's walking in those shoes for the first time, whereas for Sauron, like
Right.
he's been there, done that. Like he kind of
makes
knows
sense.
what's going on. And like Travis, to your point of him like almost having like a existential crisis on
Like,
his
why
on
is he
his
sitting here
moral
listening to
life.
this guy?
So
what does this guy
but-
have to
but, like,
offer him talking about good nature?
so-
like he's not going to turn.
But I
there's
like
no,
that though. But I like that though, because Sauron wasn't fully evil always. Like he was like a same being as what Gandalf was, right? Like he only got corrupted by the idea of what Morgoth was. And then when Morgoth got fucked up, Sauron was so like just embarrassed to like have to go back to like the Valar and just say like, oh, I'm sorry for joining him. Like he like his own ego and pride stopped him from doing that. But he wasn't like instantly trying to be the
But
new Morgoth.
none of this is in the show. That's what I mean. Like I can't go.
But like the
off
character
of-
traits make sense to me for him
that's
not being
good,
fully
yeah.
evil after that happens.
But
It's
I
just
don't
like,
have that
wow, I just
backstory in
got
this
stabbed
show.
by all my homies.
In this show, I don't have this backstory. In this show, he
True,
was a
true.
deceiver, and then he's revealed to be the most ultimate evil in the Middle Earth, right? So there's not been any of this in the show to be like, oh, this is why he feels X, Y, and Z. This is why he would listen to this guy. This is why he would act like this. And same thing when you're talking about the power set. That's another problem with me where, yeah, he regroups, and then, a couple episodes later, he's turned into an angel, his elf form. Not like they don't.
yeah, we get the Jesus clouds and everything. And that's
But
it.
my thing is like, it doesn't seem like he's missing any of his power right now for us as a viewer, right? So
Yeah.
when he's just kind of like sitting around, hanging out at Adar's camp, I'm like, what are we doing here? Why, why does Sauron do? Like he's just chained up. Just I'm just hanging out. I'm gonna talk to this dog for a little bit. I'm like that whole subplot with Adar to me could have chop it all gone. Don't need it.
I
So-
can't really tell how much physical power he has. To me, it seems like he doesn't have very much of that right now.
And has that been shown at any point, like in season 1? Like you're the one that rewatched some of it at least. Like is he
Not in
really,
the first 3 episodes. No,
Is he,
because
is he
he's just
shown with power like at all throughout the
He's
entire
just the
show?
hologram.
I don't think so.
No, but then next episode, like in the same time period, that's when he's turned into like Sauron Jesus. That's what I mean. Like if he can do that, he should have some tricks to like. I don't understand why he's just hanging out at the camp. You know, this guy can also make these powerful rings and have influence. He can talk to this
that's
dog.
like completely different from like just popping off on Adar and his homies in his camp. Like that's completely different.
I guess, but he can.
Galadriel's really powerful as well, but like throw her in the camp, I'm sure she's gonna be pretty useless.
Is she powerful though? I don't know.
She has a ring of power, man.
Not this season. Yeah,
She's
we'll
one
wait
of the
till we
only
get to
3 rings of
powers
powers right now.
Stupid ring.
Yeah,
of power.
I mean that's something I wanted to ask too in terms of the power set. 'Cause to me it seems like he doesn't have any sort of like crazy Jedi mind trick kind of powers yet. But what he does potentially have is like the deceiver thing, which Kirkland you were talking about a lot in season 1. You were very excited, to get to that point, and it's interesting now that we're there. But I'm curious like how much of that is like the Jedi thing where he just like waves his arm and people do exactly what he says regardless of their disposition versus like him just having a lot of charisma and convincing people. Because when he is just to Adar like, if you let me go, I'm gonna go to the elves and I'm gonna help find Sauron. And he's like, okay. It was so quick and so easy, and to me it wasn't like a display of like, wow, this is a really conniving villain who really outsmarted him with like some really really clever dialogue. He said like almost nothing, and then they just
I think
let
that was
him
out
go.
of fear, though. I think that's why Adar just agreed.
What does he have to
because
fear to be?
He
what
fears
is he fear?
Sauron, and him
And
and
that's
the other orcs,
Sauron's
like,
power, like at work. It's like Dylan, like the charisma thing that you're talking about, like that is the power that he has over people
But-
as well.
I think I'm with Dylan where I don't think the show is showing that. And my
Definitely
problem
not.
is
Definitely not,
with him, with Galadriel, with Caliborn. If you people haven't seen Endgame, I'm sorry I'm about to spoil it. At some point they put Rhodey and Nebula on a mission, right? And they go back to 2014, they see Peter Quill, and they get this whole backstory of what happened. Rhodey's kind of unsure, and then when they go to find Peter Quill, he looks at him and goes, "Oh, so he's an idiot, huh?" That's how I feel about every character in the show, where I don't feel that it's Sauron being clever. It's these people are dumb. Like Caliborn is like, how can I trust you? And then he goes, this is episode 1. Or no, it's episode 2, where he goes, well, I lied to Galadriel. I'm not going to do that to you because I lost her trust. Okay. And then it shows, whatever his name is, right? What's his name? His elven name?
Anatar.
Anatar. Yeah. You know everything about me. And then the next day, like, I can't remember now. I've already forgot the scene. I have my notes somewhere, but I think it's about the High King or whatever it is. And he's like, well, I didn't tell you something. So literally he said, I'm never going to lie to you because I don't want to lose your trust. And then the next episode, it's like, well, I did lie. And then Caliborn's like, well, I guess that's a new development. Like these people are so, and I get it. Cause this is what me and Taylor are talking about it's the rings of power. They're, they can deceive you. They can want those power. But to me, for Galadriel to know, and I'm not sure if it's like this in the books. Do they know when they get these rings that they're from Sauron?
They're not from Sauron. These rings?
But they had his touch on it, right?
No, they didn't.
hers
Not at
isn't,
all.
but the
Not at
future
all.
ones
That's why in the
That's the
events of the
convoluted
Lord of the
thing.
Rings, the elvish rings are the only ones that don't get corrupted because Sauron had nothing to do with those rings.
Didn't he last season though? They showed him with Caliborn like sitting there. They're like butting up and everything.
he was
like that.
around, but he didn't get his hands on them.
Did he not?
That's why it's such a big deal that he's there now because he's helping Celeborn make these rings for the dwarfs. 9 for the men doomed to die. Like
So
it's,
are
it's
the
the prophecy happening now.
So are these 3 rings good?
The elvish rings, yes.
Completely. Okay.
Completely uncorruptible. Yeah.
So that's
Well,
good
maybe
going
not. Maybe
forward.
not completely uncorruptible, but
I think my
in our
issue-
story at least.
Corrupted.
Yeah.
I think my issue with it was they at this point they're just even worried that he did do something with the rings, right? That's Elrond's whole
That's
pitch,
Elrond's whole
right?
fear. And that's where I was like, I feel like I forgot something from the last season. Like I don't remember him being so extreme in that sense.
And that's where, he was very aloof in season 1. He was just going where
Yeah.
the Blinn took him. But for me, for Galadriel, who all of season 1 got twisted and mind deaf by this guy, and all of episode 1's about, I really failed, to be like, hey, these rings, Sauron might have done something to him. She's like, oh, okay, and puts it on. I was like, well, I can't really get behind Galadriel anymore because it just, to me, this doesn't make sense. So for me, it's these characters are just kind of doing things that the plot are, well, we have to get to this point. That's why I don't,
Yeah.
I know I went on some tangents, but I agree if that's what Dylan's saying. I don't, and I think the actor could actually do it, but I don't think they're making Sauron come off as charismatic enough. It's just like a video game.
Yeah.
Pick the diplomatic, answer, say that, and then they're, yes, I agree. I'll do this for you. Like, it's not coming off as genuine. These interactions.
Sorry, Taylor, you go.
I was just gonna say, I feel like there are small moments of him being charismatic, but mostly it's him just like insinuating fear, like with Adar, or with Celebrimbor, he's just changing into this deity, like I am your partner, and Celebrimbor's like, oh my god, like.
But then,
and
like, to
he
Dylan's
instantly,
point with Adar, then if like Kurgan's saying that this guy has no power, son, then why is he even listening to this guy? Why isn't he just chopping his head off? Like, what does he have to do?
Because
terrified
he's
of
afraid of
Sauron. Yeah,
Sauron,
he's
right?
so terrified of the idea of Sauron.
He believes Sauron was dead, and then this guy's like, Sauron is alive. I know where he is. He's like, what? Like, holy fuck, that's a game changer.
And no other
Adar's
questions.
Some random freaking guy who's
Yes!
imprisoned by him. Like, wouldn't anyone say like a similar thing?
I know
maybe
who
he's like a
Sauron-
genius for coming up.
I don't
with
think
that,
Sauron is like a well-known thing amongst men, though. Especially like you have a man who's claiming to be like a king of the Southlands, who's there. He's Adar looks at him as a king, at least in this regard with his identity. And this king just happens to say like, okay, Sauron, he survived, different form, and I know how to find him, because I'm friends with the elves. Like, it's all these different things. Like, holy shit, this is a lot of notes that maybe sound real, not just a guy saying Sauron's alive and leaving it at that, but there's enough convincing pillars there to stoke the fear that is in Adar and the orcs, I'd say.
To me, it's hard. Any of it's hard to believe if he doesn't literally have some magic that like fucks with people's brains, other than not just him being charismatic and well spoken. Because even like he mind controls that one of the wolf creatures to like kill the other guy and leave him alone, and that's not a conscious creature that is going to listen to reason. So maybe he just knows how those things tick. But even then, like to get it to not attack him, sure, I can believe that. To get it to 10 minutes later attack this other guy who was in the camp, like it just seems too specific for him to not have some sort of like special power that he's utilizing. And like it's hard for me to like, fuck, I really liked Celebrimbor in the first season, but like everything he's doing here makes no sense to me.
Well, he does it on the
with the
fish
exception
too,
of
right?
like him being literally his mind being like rewired by Sauron's magic.
He does it on the fish too, right? It's going to swallow him up, and he like force speaks to it, and the sea monster swims away and avoids him, right?
It's like, sorry, sir.
Just
Sorry,
at
sir.
your
Yeah,
point.
sorry, sir. Yeah, you guys are definitely bringing up fair points that I feel like I just didn't really think about while I'm watching it, because there is a lot of things that just kind of are glossed over, and I think a big one for that is just Sauron's kind of like power over people in the sense of like his. Like, I feel like charisma is like not even a strong enough word for it, because it's just like such a force that he's able to like really deceive people, and that's why he's able to cause. Never mind, that's gonna be a spoiler for the show, so I just won't even say it. But
Well, we all know where it's going, though.
yeah,
right?
but
Like-
maybe someone doesn't. I don't know. But like I like for me, especially for I'll just talk about Celebrimbor here. For me, it's definitely there's some moments when he seems a little just stupid, but I feel like I'm able to buy it because of Sauron's just really convincing words to him about just like him trying to be basically the next Feanor, and Feanor is the guy that made the Silmarils. That's just like the most. It's like better than the ring. Like it's just the most sought after objects, and that's why he's just such a craftsman. Celebrimbor is just trying to almost not even necessarily live up to the name, but just like the legacy of being that master craftsman. And I love how Sauron was able to just like drop that line on him and make him just like, oh, I could do this, especially that he's already seen the effectiveness of the rings of power, right? Like the fact that they are healing Linden, like all of those things for me are maybe filling in the gaps of stuff that we're not actually getting said on screen. So definitely I think that is a downfall of the show overall, because it should be clear. It should be clear to everyone on like why his power is able to work in this way, because otherwise, to your guys' point, like it just seems like these people that he's interacting with are really stupid, and these people are definitely not stupid. Like they're some of the most powerful and interesting characters that are in the entire Tolkien universe, and I think that's definitely a downfall of the show overall. But for me, just kind of seeing like this visual representation, different variation, but still the story that I really just love of the Foundation of the Rings and that stuff. That's where maybe I'm just a lot more positive on it. But I still think that they're missing something about really emphasizing like Sauron and Anatar now, like his influence on the world, because this whole season is going to be him doing this to people, not just Celebrimbor, right? Like he's gonna be whispering sweet nothings into everyone's ear throughout this entire season. He's gonna be what Wormtongue could only dream of being. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope that maybe they just do it better and more clear to everyone.
I just want a little bit more tact in the writing for it, so that it can almost feel like it's a bit more on the line of, okay, how much is this magic power versus how much is this like him just being a really smart, cunning, deceiving type of character? Because that is like really compelling stuff. Like even like he's had a lot of scenes with Celebrimbor now, and so some of it does make a lot of sense. Like he's really playing on Celebrimbor's ego. And like, oh, these rings, man, they worked and they fucking crushed it. We should make some more. Like that, like that would totally make sense that would want to convince him. But I also feel like he is way too trusting right off the bat, especially with how weird that whole sequence is to me, where he shows up at the gate.
I hate it.
They let him in the first place, which is kind of weird. Why does Celebrimbor like lets him in to talk to him, but then he's like, actually, I don't really want to talk to this guy. And then the guy is like, they tell him to leave, and he's like, I don't actually want to leave. And they're like, okay. And then, like, a day later, Celebrimbor's like, okay, I guess I'll go talk to him now and tell him to leave myself. And then that's when the convincing happened. It just feels like a little bit too janky in the actual, like, plot line of the writing of that sequence.
But the convincing wasn't necessarily on Celebrimbor. It was on he put his charisma onto that servant elf, that handmaiden elf, right? Like even just showing that he was super injured and the way he was talking to her, and he obviously was pretty confident knowing that she would go to vouch for him when speaking to Celebrimbor. And you're right, you make a good point with Celebrimbor's ego, and he's playing off of that. And I think it's just like any creative artist out there, you get hooked onto your work and you want to be the best, and he's looming this threat over Celebrimbor, like, hey, it could all be taken away. You need to keep going at it. And when Celebrimbor was just turned on a dime, like, oh, I'm gonna lie to the High King and just write this letter like, oh, the forges are closed, like, fuck, that was a pretty hefty thing to do. But I like that he's playing off of that weakness with him, but I don't think it's gonna last very long. But of course you got him pretending to be sent by the Valar, and that just totally shuts out whatever weirdness there was about him standing at the gates for like 3 days or however long he was, just like standing there looking, making it rain, making the storms.
And like yeah, because like the Valar to them, like that would be a believable thing, especially if it happens in that way of just like pure magic, that he just changes form, speaking to him through the fire and just comes down from the heavens. Like that makes sense. Oh, there's something you were talking about Celebrimbor there. No, it's eluded me. Maybe we'll come back.
Yeah, I was completely fine with that. If he's giving the whole pitch of, hey, this could be the darkest time ever, we need to do this, and Celebrimbor at first like, I don't know, like that's a lot. I get him turning on that, even if there's no like charismatic Jedi mind trick of just this guy turns into a practical angel. Like, okay, I think I believe you. You know, like clearly this is something going on. I did not like the standing outside. It was weird, especially because the reason is he's like, well, says Galadriel said not to have anything to do with him. And the first thing Sauron's like is, oh, Galadriel said you would say that. And it's just like, you're not going to press him anymore. It's like, wouldn't you be kind of, if someone said, hey, don't talk to Dylan, and then that Dylan, I had the same conversation and it was like, oh, that I just talked to that person, be like, well, that's really odd. That person said to have nothing to do with you, but they don't talk about that. He just says that, and then they move right into the conversation and he lets him inside. So it's like, I not like the same thing. Why wouldn't the guards escort him the first night? He's like, it's been a couple, I think they only said it was 1 day, but still it's like, all right, you better leave now or you're going to be escorted out. Why wasn't that the first move? If you've been like warned by Galadriel, hey, don't associate with this guy going forward. There's something up with him. It was very odd to me. I wish there was another, at that point, I wish he just got in and Celebrimbor was just curious the first time he came in and had a conversation, right? Of, oh, well, whatever Galadriel says, that's fine. I'm going to make my own opinion. Not like, no, I won't let him in. And then, that character.
I just assume the security would be way better in that city, but maybe it's just shit security, and that would make a little more sense.
Well, which even it's weird because she's like, well, there's someone requesting your presence, but they've already let him in the gate. Usually, it would be like, hey, he's on the other side of the gate. It's this guy. Right. Yes, go ahead and comes in. But it's like
he probably mind tricked the gatekeepers, right?
Yeah, and they might get more into that as the seat, because we've seen some previews where it's like looks like Celebrimbor was in like a hell dark like area, so it might look like okay, maybe they're gonna show like, oh, he's always been doing this, but I just wish there was more of a, even if it was a music cue, something fun to do with the camera, just something, and maybe just better written the scenes.
Yeah.
But I like the version he's playing here, and I still always thought the actor Vickers is doing a good
I
job.
think
I
he's
have no
doing
issue with
a
him.
lot better this season around than I thought the
100%.
acting quality was the first season. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%, I agree. I remember what it was for Celebrimbor. Of just like him willing to just lie to the High King. I think something that they really did not do a good job at showing is just from first season. It just seems like all the elves are just like team elf. Like that is just the way it is. So for us to be now at the start of season 2 where he's like just lying to the High King through a letter and just
He's
oh
not my
yeah, like
king.
we'll just work on our own. Yeah, like that just seems like such a jump and a major stretch. Whereas it's really not that. I feel like it's not that hard to believe of like elves just getting so fixated on their actual craft, especially someone like Celebrimbor who like is the last descendant of Feanor that would just like he literally like more or less to quote a great Avatar character, betrayed his own race because of his great craftsmanship and just his obsession with making beautiful things. So I think what happened is fine character wise, but it's just the way that they told it. It's just guys, like come on, like people are going to be very just confused and seeing holes in the script here, which I mean is evident already 45 minutes in.
See, and that one didn't bug me because like you've never watched it, but in The Hobbit they like establish all the elves are not like there's lots of the section of elves and they don't all get along and all have their issues and everything like that. So I was completely fine with being like, because he even says he's like I'm not in his province, or he says something like his jurisdiction or something like that. So it's like
Fuck that guy.
yeah, which is because like did they ever explain, this is something I might have missed, did they explain what happened to the letters that they sent from Rivendell?
Yeah.
What I missed that.
It's not Rivendell, right? It's Linden.
Okay, Linda, where'd those letters go?
The
They
messengers
got
got
fucked
killed.
up. Yeah, they got fucked up.
They showed
they
their
show
dead
that?
bodies, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't show who killed them, but they showed their dead bodies, and they showed the
must have
letter
missed it.
on the
I
ground.
think it was
all
the
banged
orcs
up.
that were following Halbrand, right? Because Adar
That
tells
makes
them to
sense.
tail them. So that's kind of what I assumed.
Okay, no, I must have looked away or
yeah.
some guys like completely
you
because I was
have-
like, where are these letters? Like, because he's writing a letter to the High King, and I did
Yeah.
like that at first, right? When he's like, "I'll write a letter to the High King," like Sauron's face is like you what? Because he didn't. And then it was
I'm
like, oh
helping
yeah,
Sauron. Just
yeah, I'm
write
gonna
small
lie
letter.
and say we're not doing anything. He's like, oh okay, like he like sat back, but it was
Tell
just
him
good.
my
like-
new buddy. Yeah.
yeah, it like I liked it. Literally looked like Sauron was like, I might have to kill this dude right now. Like he literally had this eyes like because it's good if he sends this letter, I'm fucked. Which is like still the same thing too. Of like if you can change your form, I get it because of course we want Vickers to carry on, but it's still funny. Like he just looks like Halbrand with long blonde hair. You
Yeah.
know, like change it up like a little bit. Same thing. This is when he should have been a woman, and this because like they won't be
Yeah.
looking for a woman right now. You know,
And like
so.
Galadriel and team is on the route, right? Like I imagine
Yes,
they're,
they're gonna
gonna,
see him.
recognize that fucking nose.
looks
Galadriel
familiar.
was talking to Elrond, trying to convince him to like come with me to go and apprehend Sauron. But
no.
there was a quick line there that she dropped, like none of their letters that we've sent to Celebrimbor have been answered. It's like not like letters. What do you mean letters? Like you haven't sent a lot.
yeah.
You sent one. That was your only hope, was sending one.
Don't get me started about her and the High King and Celebrimbor. Their whole fucking like in episode 2, I'm so pissed at those two characters. They're talking about like, man, it'd really suck if Sauron got back there. But there's like they have no emergency to send any, like they send some letters, but like I hope in episode 4 or 5 there's a press saying we haven't heard anything, we need to go. And it's weird because I gotta
Well, I
pull
feel
up
like
my
they've been
notes.
spinning wheels where it's like, okay, Galadriel wants to go,
Yes.
and then she's gonna go, but then there's like this drama where it's like, oh, actually, Elrond's been put in control of this group that's gonna go to Aragorn, and that's like, I feel like that's been for like weeks. They've just been sitting around like planning this trip. But as you mentioned, like this is such an urgent matter. You should go immediately.
Yeah.
And enough of this drama of like who's gonna run the group
Yeah.
that goes there. To me, that stuff's really disappointing because those are like my two favorite characters from what I remember from the first season. So I'm just not liking them just sitting around. And then like at one point, freaking Elrond like he flees with the rings and then like go get him and pull him back. And it's like I don't like anything that we've been doing with.
Oh, I
Linden.
did not like that.
They-
Yeah.
they-
Elves is so
They
fun.
literally, the High King says to arrest this man. He jumps off a waterfall. When they get him, cut to 30 minutes later when they're all singing together. Elrond's there singing with them all. There's no
And now he's putting
consequences.
Elrond in control
Yeah.
of this other group. Like he trusts
ze-
him more than anyone.
Zero consequence. And this was, it was the beginning of season episode 2. They're talking about Celebrimbor, and High King goes, he's completely fine, nothing to worry about. And they pause for 10 seconds. They just show some like the scenery and everything. And Galadriel walks up and she's like, I believe Celebrimbor is in danger. And they just go, and it's just like, he said this to her and she goes, yeah. And then for 10, it's like they meant to put the scene like later on in the episode, but literally they just have the same conversation over again. And it's the same, well, I don't know. That's been my biggest issue with, I'm glad that you told me the rings aren't with Sauron, but I just feel like they are, this whole thing, they just don't take it seriously at all. All season 1, they tell Galadriel that she's crazy. Sauron's dead. You're just revenge, reeking. You just want to get vengeance for your brother, right? And now that he's alive, the stupid High King is like, well, you really fucked up by letting him get away. No one's ever said anything great about her being right or anything like that. Now it's just about how she fucked up. And I wish there could be some sort of good drama there, but I just feel like she's like the teacher's pet right now with the High King. And this whole thing sucks because I just feel like there's no urgency at all with any of these people, and that's what sucks to me. I just feel like they're just being dumbed down, and I just don't understand what they're doing here with everything to do with Sauron and their plan and Celebrimbor and same thing with the rings. Even if they're good rings, the fact that she would put one of these rings on, knowing there could be her best friend has said these rings could be really bad and fuck us all up, and first episode, the ring just falls to her feet. I'll put it on.
You see
sure.
that diamond though? She's like, oh man, she's putting that on.
Yeah, I
You
have
see
no
those
husband.
leaves?
Yeah.
You see those leaves after, man? Like I feel like I have no issue with them. Basically, the elves and the rings, like I have no issues with that. I really love the sequence actually when Elrond was speaking with Círdan and like him just trying to flip Elrond's kind of perspective on the rings, and like he's just so fixated on being scared of the evil potential of these rings, but he's so blind to the possibility of what they could do for good. And I just love that sequence. I'm really loving this just like Buddhist Círdan type character that we're getting, that he's just so like tranquil, and like I feel like the way that he's carrying himself, like the actor as the character, he just feels so much like just, I don't know if wiser is like a better term than like all the other elves, but he just
He did
feels like
say he was the wisest.
and the oldest though. Like he feels elder. I think in compared to the other elves. So I'm
He's
really
only got
loving
gray
that
hair as
character.
well too. That could help.
Yeah, I'm loving that. Just the casting for Círdan, because that was one I was really excited to see for this season. Círdan, the shipwright. So that's been pretty sweet to have. And fun fact, the ring that he has is actually the one that Gandalf wears in the future. So that's
Gandalf
fun.
fucked
That
him up
ring
one night in
carries
an
on.
alley.
Yeah, in a drinking bet.
Really? He lost in a drinking bet?
No, of course not.
Okay,
No,
I'm like,
come on.
Jesus Christ, yeah. See, I'm glad you're liking him. I hated the comparison when Elrond's talking about how evil these rings could be, how bad they are. And he's like, well, what if a drunk man writes a poet? Is it still not a good poem? And it's just like, that's not, like, they're not comparable, dude. Like, the rings are a terrorist with weapon of mass destruction, as we're talking about originals.
Sounds like Boromir, right? That's what-
And like, this guy's saying, like, well, if a drunk guy wrote a poem and it was good, do we take his credit away? It's like it's not the same situations. I get what they're trying to do, but again, I just think like I just don't think again, these elves just feel like this is such a nonchalant issue to them. The comparison is not apt, and this is lives on the line, not poetry.
Getting back to what you guys were talking about though, with just the urgency of the elves, and that's definitely something I feel like. I don't know. There's some stuff with the Linden elves that I do like, but I feel like most of it has been kind of messy, and I just don't think they're doing a good job at like what basically you guys were already highlighting of just the sense of urgency of what this threat could be. I think there is a version with the same amount of screen time that we've had for our elves in Linden to just make it more compelling. Like maybe there's more pushback on like why this would be impossible, that Halbrand would even be in Eregion at this point in time, right? Because the last time we saw him, that's like way further away if you pull up the map of kind of where Eregion is in comparison. And something that really bugged me too, like where we are in season 2, where we were at the end of season 1, where I think the last shot is Halbrand like in Mordor, right? He's like regened. how the fuck does he just like fast travel all the way from Mordor, where Adar has him, to just like way over to Eregion like instantly on his black horse? Like it just seems like he took the eagles across the way to get over there like instantly.
Yeah. I think that's what you were saying earlier, of just like the amount of time that passes since these people.
Yeah,
None of the
scale
people in this
everything.
world like have a life outside of like the direct plot of the story, so it's
No.
hard to tell like what's happening in between and how much time has passed. Because the other thing
Yeah.
that bothered me is for like I don't know, an episode and a half, almost 2 episodes, we're spinning wheels of this whole Galadriel and Elrond. They're gonna go to Erengion thing, and then just like at the end of episode 2, Celebrimbor is like, hey, can you invite Durin or one of the dwarves to Erengion? And then they get there in like 5 minutes. And
Right
maybe on the
there.
map,
Oh, yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
Khazad-dûm is really close to Erengion compared to Lindon. I don't know. But to me, it was like, we're still plotting, just walking over to Erengion. And in that time, the dwarves have been invited, which would take, a messenger to go there. And then they come there. And then they get all the way back
Yeah.
to Khazad-dûm before they've even left Lindon. So, I don't know. I went on a Middle-earth map and I tried to find these spots and I could not find them anywhere. So, I don't know. Maybe it is accurate. But when you're bringing up there of Sauron, I mean, he's magic, so he can do whatever he wants, I guess. But yeah, it's a lot of the just time that it takes for things in this show is really throwing things off, when I feel like the movie trilogy is so consistent in terms of how long things take and like the relative time it takes like this group of travelers to get from here to here versus that group of travelers to get from there to there. So it all just feels a bit messy because of that, and maybe it just comes down to the edit when they just film these things, and then there's in the editing room like, we got to make a compelling show that each episode has like progress for each of these storylines. So I guess it just becomes a bit of a mess at that point.
It was funny that season 1, like the big ending shot was like Sauron going back to Mordor, and then like he spends like a cup of coffee there and he's gone again. Like I feel like they did that just to end season 1. Like, well, we
Oh,
gotta have
literally.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
like,
makes no sense.
We got to show people he's going back. Where they makes the ring? He's going back there. And then he just like said hi to Adar, however you want to say his name, Adar. And Adar told
Anal.
some weird fucking story about like pretty much having sex with Sauron. I know he didn't, but just like he found me in the moonlight and he gave me wine, the reddest wine I ever seen. He let me drink. I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? He just literally felt like he described like falling in love with someone. I get what they're going for. Like he was like, he used his machismo, his charisma to get him in there and like win him over and stuff. But it's just the way he was telling the story. It just felt like so romantic. I was getting lots of good laughs out of it and everything going on there. I'm Taylor. Can you tell what was the meme that you saw? Because I don't think we saw the same meme, but
It was about the baby orc.
okay, yeah, we did see the same meme. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's take an ad break and we'll be right back. So we'll take our second break. And we're back. So I think this happens in episode 3, where Adar decides, okay, we're going back to war. Okay, cool. That was the whole thing, right? With Sauron, he said, let's go to war. They say no, they kill him and everything like that. They just lots of DPing going on in him, and he's just a mess at the beginning, right? So he's dead. And then we've talked about all this stuff with Sauron, and then so Adar's like, we're going back to war. And then you have this fucking orc behind. And we're like, but sir, you said we could stay home for a little bit. He's like, well, no, we got to go back to war so we can defend our home. He's like, all right, sir. And then he turns around and there's a woman orc. And then and
Not
she's
even
holding.
sir. He's calling him dad and son.
Yes.
Yeah, they're very on the nose with it.
And like he turns around, I'm like, that better not be what I think it is. And lo and behold, there's a lady orc there holding a baby orc, and then the man orc like gets around and looks at it. It's just like, this is exactly for me what they fucking did in Boba Fett. We're like, the sand people, they're not that bad. If you know Psy language, they're not savages. It's like, I don't need to care about the sand people. And I don't need the orcs to be like, but Dad, you said we could stay home. Like, I do not like to me, the orcs are just vicious killing. And if they want to go to war, we're fucking going back to war. But this like, but we just got here. This for me is taking 2 steps forward. That's the stuff I started to classify as bad, or stuff that like hurts my precipitation of how I view certain things, and not liking what's going on with the orcs and Adar right now for me. So, and yeah, I saw the many memes of the orc baby, so it's already started. So not good for the show, I'd say.
I guess
so.
I didn't even ever think about it prior, because when I think of how an orc is born, I think of that scene in Isengard when they're just coming out of the mud bath and ripping the membrane.
That's what I
off
thought
them.
too, right?
Well,
I
it's
thought they were
Uruk-hai, right?
created.
It's
But even
completely different.
orcs, even though orcs I thought were created too, because they were once elves, right? Isn't that what Saruman
That's
was
what I
talking
thought.
about?
No,
In-
I don't
Saruman
think,
was like,
I don't think that's completely confirmed though.
Or is that
that's
just
how
the
they're-
Uruk-hai that are elves that were
no, but
former
remember,
elves?
in,
I'm not debating
uh,
lore. I'm just saying this is my perception. So I feel like I'm learning a lot here of like
That's fair.
orc anatomy. But I guess once we have 2 orcs, what's to stop them from banging? And like they still got the organs.
Oh,
right?
lots
So
of
they can-
banging.
They can have babies, right?
I swear in Fellowship when Saruman's talking to
But,
the
like-
Uruk-hai, he's like, remember how the orc first came to being? They were elves once, and that's
And
it.
that's
I'm with
been
you,
like in
Taylor.
contention though. That was actually never said by Tolkien. Like that could have been a Peter Jackson decision, right? Like that
Oh,
was never
fuck.
actually confirmed one
Okay.
way or the other. So I have no idea where that
But even
actually
that-
line is crossed for
Well, even
for
that
the
quote,
orcs or the
that
Uruk-hai.
doesn't deconfirm that they can have like once you've taken 2 elves, turn them into orcs.
Yeah.
Then they can reproduce, right?
So,
I'm
like-
completely
Came
fine
from
them
elves. They
reproducing.
came
I
from
just
elves,
don't want
but-
them to. They like I don't want them to be like oh,
Let
but
them
we're home-
reproduce, Travis.
Like
Come on.
them having like this soft side of like, but we're home with our family. Like I don't need orcs to have that. Like orcs to me would be the ones that are like eating their children. That were like it's just like it's like I don't care if they fuck or not or elves or not. Like the fact that they've made them this way in the show is like, what are we doing here? And also just to. I think Kirk can back me up in this. In the chat, someone says Lord of the Rings takes place 2 to 3 weeks. That's not true in even the movies. In the movies, they say it's almost been like a year or something, hasn't
in
it
the
been?
books, it's like years and years,
Yeah,
isn't it?
well, it's not years and years. I,
I
don't
think,
think
I
it's
think
like a
in the
year.
book it's like a year.
It's like a year and 6
year
months,
and a
I
bit.
think. Yeah. So it's
exactly.
not a couple. Frodo didn't get to Mordor in a couple of weeks. It took a little bit longer, but I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. But yeah,
Oh, what was my point? I was just gonna make.
Orc
Okay,
baby?
so with the orc babies, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I like the idea of them just creating the orcs because at this point I feel like okay, when we get to Lord of the Rings and you see how many fucking orcs there are at this point with Sauron just having like let's do huge orgies, we need to get our numbers up, like just
Let us
fucking
fuck.
pump it, yeah, let us
Pull
Let
the
you
horse.
fuck!
pumping
Ormtongue's
these
like-
orcs out, like
Tongue's like me. Like no, you motherfucker. You got to
Like-
remember though, Taylor. This is technically not a prequel to those movies, though.
yeah,
It's,
true.
it's legally it is not. You're not supposed to watch this as a lead into the movies. It is its own thing. It's more a
Legally,
It's hard
we're
for me
allowed
not
watch
to.
this
Yeah,
before
but-
watching one of the movies.
It technically would be a prequel to the books, not to the movies.
Yeah, I know you're right, but when
Yeah,
I
I
my
don't care, I
headcanon
get
when I
canon.
watch
It's
this,
all
No, I know,
it's
but
like,
I'm
I
just
see
saying
this
when
as
you're
a-
saying like, oh well, in Fellowship of the Ring, there's so many orcs, they have to be created, but that's why it's like, well, you technically haven't seen what happens here. Maybe in this canon, it's like, yeah, they're just fucking all the time, you know.
and they are fucking all the time. 'Cause they don't wanna go
Apparently.
to war or anything like that.
That's
wanted-
why.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more note on Sauron before we talk about the orc fuck. So there's a moment in here when we see obviously the intro of the episode 1 with Sauron, like he's just Morgoth is dead and he's just trying to talk to the crowds, right? And like make his claim, make his case, and Arda is not having it. The orcs aren't really having it. The orcs are sounding like they're Koba. I got Koba vibes. Like
A couple orcs did sound like, yo, me build weapon, and I was like, oh my god, Koba's here.
Koba.
Koba, fuck orc. Koba, new Sauron. Koba, no war. Stay
but-
home.
So you're telling me now this is the fallout of Morgoth's passing, and you have Sauron coming into play here, making his claim, and then he gets executed. They take him out. But then you have in season 1 this whole setup here where Galadriel's talking about how the orcs are multiplying, the orcs are rising up, and Sauron was the one mobilizing them and leading them.
Yeah,
and then
he's
they
just
get
cheering
this
them on.
scene.
Go fuck.
Well, yeah.
yeah.
But this scene technically never happens then because he's in his little majestic robes and gets fucking skull fucked by the Morgoth crown and
Well,
then dies,
no, he could take
right?
this armor off, couldn't he? And then look like the guy.
Who's
that he-
taking this arm off? No, he's wearing this 24/7.
It's heavy. It's heavy. You're sweating.
point-
Describing that as a skull fuck.
Like you can't wear it the whole time. Like, do you want to take a shit in that thing? There's no way. You
I don't think he
way.
shits.
You don't think Sauron shits?
I would
He's not
definitely
even mortal,
disagree
so he
with
doesn't
that.
have to.
Okay.
Well,
It's a
sorry,
good question.
One more baby counterpoint. Going back to my my good old Isengard thing of babies coming out of like a little, or the orcs coming out of the mud things.
baths.
Could they not have taken an elven baby and thrown it in a mud bath and regenerated
True.
it that way? We don't know that orc holding the baby gave birth to that baby, right?
But then why are they taking care? Like, why
you
are they
take
just?
care of it, or else it dies. You need the numbers to multiply,
Yeah.
or else you can't take out Eringian, right? And Celebrimbor and Linden and stuff.
So you like the baby orc then?
No
Dylan, is what
comment.
you're
Yeah.
saying? Do you like the you got points for it, but are you for the
I
baby
think I'm
orc? You
neutral. Like
that?
it didn't
Okay.
bother me,
That's
but
fair.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
I'm pretty damn all right with it. I don't know. I like just seeing the orcs more than just cannon fodder for our main heroes to just chop up. I'm not saying I want like a full episode or season of just following the lives, the desperate housewives of the orcs or whatever, like that version of the story. I don't need that. But I still do like kind of seeing this post Morgoth situation and the orcs kind of having like a representative that's like more for them. That's I don't know. It's just intriguing to me, just seeing them as a faction on their own, not just minions to a big bad. So because that's pretty much what they've been. Their whole existence has just been like cannon fodder, and yeah, I don't know. I kind of like to see it because it was something new, but I don't know.
Sauron
I
said it himself. Mankind will never see you as more than beasts to be slaughtered.
yeah. He's like, plenty of orcs will die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Orcs were like, oh, we're gonna kill him. We're gonna kill him. But I didn't have I didn't have a problem with it. I still think it is like it's just maybe not the orc I like, right? Because I feel like
Yeah,
it's a
it's
mutiny
fair.
thing. I don't like them being like, oh, well, that's our leader and he's against us now. We should kill it. Like for me, it's like the Sampiel thing. I don't need this from the orcs, especially in a show when we already have so many characters. I don't need orc family subplot popping off as well. I'm not saying they're gonna become supporting characters, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think that's what we're
no, but I just don't even need a minute of it. I don't even need that at all. And I don't even like. Kind of hoping Adar kicks the bucket this season. I was done with the story I think last year, and I'm kind of ready for Sauron to kick his ass, and then
Yeah.
he embarrasses him, and then all the orcs are like, "We follow him." Like that's what I want. Like we fuck Sauron. Yeah, and Sauron goes, "No, I give you wives." But yeah, Adar.
Gives you lives.
I'm with you. I think Adar should bite the dust this season. Question in that prequel shot thing when Sauron does like his big ice explosion and seeps through. Is that the same ice temple thing from season 1 where Galadriel and her crew were going and looking up remains and things?
Yeah.
I was wondering that.
I
Pretty
forget
damn
what they
sure.
found there.
They found his symbol, and it was
Okay.
odd though because
That's in like early episodes, right? Like you watched
first
that
episode
again?
1,
Yeah.
but that's why I was not sure about that because she's like, oh, these orcs, they're experimenting with some dark magic. Like she made it sound like the orcs fucked up here and not someone fucked them up with dark magic or
Well, I
Sauron
don't-
popped
I
off.
think given the situation, I don't know if she would know necessarily.
Yeah.
That's just
Like
what she
what
said.
happened there.
I know. I guess that's just what she said.
She
It's
couldn't
just
know,
that
right.
they were experimenting with dark magic. I was like, okay, so that's why I wasn't sure if it was actually the same place because it looked icy.
I
and
mean,
yeah, she finds a
literally could
symbol.
have just
But
been a case where they hadn't thought about that when they did that scene in season
100%.
1, and then
Yeah,
connected it later too.
yeah. And like, I wonder why. Like I get it, like his career, you made the point of like he regenerates, but I almost just wonder like why they didn't have Vickers in that scene. You know, if he's just gonna look the way he does later on.
I think just to emphasize that he can take many different forms, like
Yeah.
throughout his existence. It's kind of funny that like we have Halbrand and then also Charlie's Vickers with like long hair. So it's like, why not just get another actor in that point, other than just trying to use Charlie
Yeah.
Vickers as much as you can.
Which I guess I answered my own question because I guess you also don't want Adar to know he is Sauron, right? So if he kidnaps him at
Yeah.
camp and he sees this guy, so
That'd be terrible if they just went with that of like, we'll just make it so the actors don't actually know. It's
Yeah.
like Galadriel like interacting with him. It's like, nice to meet you. What's your name? like,
I'm
like
gonna laugh when that happens.
oh
yeah.
god, that would be awful.
You seem familiar. Not me. I'm just like
Taylor.
even,
Oh, sorry.
like when I can't remember the dwarf. What his name is? He's like our main dwarf. He has a problem with his
Durin?
Yeah, Durin.
And his father Durin.
How fucking
Oh,
shady
that's
is
why
it?
I'm confused because their names are so freaking
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same-
How
same
shady
name.
is it when he asks her, I'm like, what's your name? He's like, I'm a friend. Like he refuses to give him any name until eventually he's like, yeah, I'm Anata or whatever. But like 3 times, like, I'm just helping you out. I'm a friend. No
You
worries
give him
about
some
me.
mithril. He's fucking closing his eyes and like rubbing it as he puts it into the fire.
Yeah.
Taylor, to circle back. So yeah, you are correct. It is. So what the inconsistency of? I'll just read this. The origin of
What was I
orcs
correct
were
about?
explained 2 different ways.
The orgy of orcs?
Inconsistently by Tolkien. The origin. The orcs were either East elves, enslaved, tortured, and bred by Morgoth, Melkor, also known, or Avari, which is Melkor.
Melkor.
That's
Melkor.
Morgoth. Melkor is his good name, right?
Yeah, that's like his original
Valar.
name.
No wonder
Yeah.
why I changed his name.
When he goes to a party, that's his
I'm
name.
Malcor. Yeah.
So it's
alright.
basically both
Loser.
versions that he explained was originally a race of elf that was just like completely corrupted by the evils of Morgoth. And then I imagine it's like at that point it's almost like an evolutionary type thing, to pull in Elder Scrolls. It's kind of like how the snow elves were initially like turned into the Falmer. I think it's something along those lines, and I imagine the Falmer can make baby Falmers. So
You
it's
did
like the
say
same
breed
sort of
there,
idea.
right?
Was that
You said breed there in one of your lines of dialogue.
bred
there?
by Morgoth?
bread,
So like
bread sexualizing like sex and not the
They
Sex
have
was involved.
magic. They have
Yeah.
magic, so if they could breed them other ways too. Just gonna say it doesn't have to be
Sex.
just like turkey
Yeah, like that
based.
doesn't really answer if like it's through the
Turkey-based.
mud baths or the womb.
Morgoth and Sauron and other people are sitting around campfires. How do we breed them? And Morgoth's just like sex, and everyone's like, "Fuck, you're weird, man."
Who
Like, let's
invited
ju-
this guy?
Yeah, we have a magic book. Let's use the multiplier spell. Oh yes, of course, multiplier spell. Let's use that one. Not-
Sex.
yeah. Maybe we'll do that another time, but we're in war.
Back on the menu.
Yeah, it's back on the menu, boys. Okay, we've talked about anything else. We've talked about Sauron, Adar, and we've talked a little bit about Elrond
A little bit of
and
Celebrimbor in there, too.
Yeah, is there anything about those collection of characters we want to
Last-
touch on before we move?
Last thing on
across?
Adar, it's just kind of like I think it's in like near the end of episode 3 there. Just we got Damrod, the hill troll, who comes up to camp. He's got one of the orc heads.
Yep.
And he wants to fuck up Sauron. So there's not really much there. It's more of a cliffhanger leading into something. But I'm excited for that. I think that'll be
looks
fun
good,
to see
man.
This faction.
He did look
of
good.
Troll and just to see him fuck up some people because I don't know. I like seeing the different trolls in Lord of the
Mhm.
Rings. We've seen like a few different types, and this one seems a lot more. I don't know. We've seen other, I guess, like kind of evolved ones too that can actually have conversations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just like seeing that kind of stuff.
So we're not thinking, I imagine, that he was the big guy at the end of episode 3. Madison was like, "Oh, tree ants." I was like, "Oh yeah, probably tree ants, right?"
I think
Definitely
it's
tree
ants. Yeah,
Ants, yeah, okay.
it's just this troll picked him up. Episode 4 opens out with the murder, just destroyed on the ground.
Well, it's funny because in one of the trailers they have I can't even remember his name now. Our wood elf character, like him, like popping off on a troll, and it looked like similar lighting to what that sequence was. So that's where I was like,
A Rondir.
Rondir. I'm with you, Taylor. I kind of thought the troll was there, but it also didn't make sense why he would have been like why is
Killing
Adar
these servants of
yeah
Adar, right?
yeah exactly like his own servants. He's like, yeah, go fuck them up. I don't like those guys.
Everyone has a couple fast travel scrolls that they can use to just teleport around.
Fucking Wong's slip ring or whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah. Anything on the High King there, Kirkland? Before we move on your
Yeah,
favorites from last year?
I'm not a fan of Gil-galad. Like I don't know too much about him other than him just being the High King of the Noldor. I always just thought because of the tales that I like read around the character, I just assumed he was like very wise, all knowing, and just like stoic, and I just don't like. I don't know if I'm assuming it's just like the material that the actor's working with, but like I'm just like I just don't like this guy. I don't like him as my leader, especially like to compare to one of the greatest trilogies of all time, like our Elrond from Fellowship, like that is a leader in my mind. Just like his charisma and his gravitas that he has when he just like exudes authority to people. Like I'm not getting that from this guy at all.
He's like substitute teacher authority.
And this is supposed to be like the high king. This is like the last high king of the Noldor. Like this is a big fucking deal. And I see him and I'm like, fuck this guy,
Like-
man.
like
Like,
when
don't
they-
talk to Galadriel that way. Like, how dare you? Like, I'm just not liking what's going on with this character here.
When they talked about the rings and they were just having him get worked about how can save everything, and he's like telling him to give him the rings and stuff. I just, it's it's tough because this character's not going anywhere. They make it to like
Dude, he makes it to the
Yes,
last
yes.
battle of,
They-
of men and dwarves and
This-
everyone.
this character will be in the entire show. And I think there was something, at least with season 1, where I feel like that character was missing a lot because a lot of the characters left. But with us staying where we are, there's been a lot of him. So again, I'm just thinking it's like a miscast, in my opinion, that maybe that's what it is or what has been written. It's just I was hoping for better stuff, but anytime this character's on screen, I almost kind of check out. And it's just because I feel like they've just made him overly generic of like, because I think even as the leader who's doing stuff like against Elrond or maybe had a problem with Galadriel, you still should find ways to make him understand, oh, I get why he's doing this, right? But it just feels like he's a stick in the mud the whole time. He's like just to be a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. And like I said, the same thing, like they don't talk about it at all about Galadriel calling Sauron's back. It's just, oh, it's your fault. You let him get too close and now
Yeah.
you screwed. Because she says it's like, oh, we're only in this position because of you. It's like, you'd be worse off if it wasn't for her, you know? Like at least she has
Yeah.
some sort of information on the situation, but
It very much feels like in some of those scenes, it's like he's like the principal that's like chastising like a student, and it just this dynamic does not make any sense to me at all. Especially, I don't know. I'm not supposed to bring in my own like previous source material into this story. It's been made clear. This is something completely separate. It's not attached to the events of Fellowship. You know, legally we cannot speak in that terms.
no,
but
legally, no.
I'm looking at these characters and I'm like, man, Galadriel is like by far the oldest and probably the wisest character in this entire room. Like I get it. You
On
have
this show.
yeah, and it's not felt at all. Like she feels
No.
like a fucking youngling sometimes.
She feels like an
and
intern, like you
yeah,
just
and
got
I-
here.
It
Yeah.
it fucking grinds my gears because I love the actress. I think she's fantastic. Of just every scene that she's doing, like I feel like she's giving it her all. But just what they're doing with her right now, it's big. I don't want to say dropping the ball, but just it's not what I was looking forward to at all. And I think it's like episode maybe 1 or 2, like when it's focused on that, and that's where throughout the episodes, like I was enjoying the show more. Like, you know, as I said, my overall thoughts, like where we are at the end of episode 3, I was actually quite pumped. But just like initially, because we have a lot of Lyndon scenes, I'm hoping that going forward we're kind of done with Lyndon. Like
I
we don't
hope.
really have much to do. Like the tree is healed. I think we're going to be spending most of the time in Eregion, Numenor, places like that versus Lyndon. So I am hope that Gil-galad takes a back seat in that sense. But you're right, Travis. Like he's going to be here. He's going to outlast
Oh, yeah.
a lot of these characters actually in the show, which
He's
is
gonna be
unfortunate. but
reading their fucking eulogies off, singing his songs.
with no 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 pizzazz. At
he
all.
was a
Just
good man.
bland as vanilla. Yeah.
He was good.
Vanilla's
Like-
not bland. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah. This one is, but let's take an ad break. We'll start talking about some other characters. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Tay, you've been quiet. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go with Gandalf and the Hobbits? Do you want to go with the
Harfoots.
dwarves? Harfoot, you know, the Shire folk. They're not even from the Shire, I guess. Whatever. I'm still going to call them hobbits. I don't care. Gandalf and the Hobbit. They're both named wrong. Dwarves. Do you want to go with the guy who's so mad that he's stuck with the elf who was fucking his mom? Where do you want?
Got so fucking mad. Oh my god! You just look at him. You're never be my father. Like he just has so much hatred for this poor elf.
I just want to slide one more quick thing, Celebrimbor. Like I look and I'm like,
That's
man,
twice you've done that now. That's
Channing
twice.
Tatum just
Gallad.
reminds
You're
me of
Gallad,
him.
not
Like,
Celebrimbor.
oh, not Celebrimbor. Sorry, yeah, like Gil-galad. Wrong
Gil-galad.
guy.
Just call him the High King. It's
The High King,
The
the High
titles are
King.
easier way. That's how I don't screw it up.
Gil-galad,
Yeah, I'm
he
done
kind of
with
looks like
Celebrimbor.
the guy who played Multiple Man in X3.
Eric Dane, no, don't put that on Eric Dane. Eric Dane's better looking than
Oh,
the High
yeah.
King here.
Eric
Yeah.
Dane looks more like Channing Tatum than Gil-galad does.
Yeah.
Got the same like hairline going on here.
I wish we got.
too.
I wish we got Eric Dane as Sauron. You know, get him with those long locks. Would have been great.
But yeah, so where do I want to go now?
Talk about the elf with his adopted son.
Help with the adopted son. Yeah, no, I can't remember that guy's name, but they're just having this fire burial mourning thing, cremation, and he walks up to
Give me
the
that
son.
motherfucker.
Yeah, give me that. Puts his like hand on the son, but the son nudges out of the way and like adopts a seal door as his father. I feel like just a weird dynamic all around with all this. It's just kind of
And you missed it. He didn't give him the torch. Remember, his son
because he took it.
He took. How awkward must that funeral been for everybody else? This elf's having this nice moment. He's kissing his body. He's about to give him the son. He's like, fucking dude already. He just throws it and he walks off. Like, I already look at this son character like, man, you could bring down the show quite a bit if this continues. Because I get it's his mom, but just everything just like, you know my father? No? Well, then you're no use of me, so fuck off, because the only thing we had together is now Ash. Like, it's just like, I get it, and they just have this elf just like sad face the whole time, but yeah, you're right, he is adopted by a Isildur, I guess. Yeah, that's the other ones we haven't talked about, is all the Numenor men and stuff, so.
Numenorians.
Whatever the fuck they are, you know?
The,
Aragorn's people. That all suck.
Yeah, seeing all the dynamics here that are unfolding between this elf character, the son, and then the Isildur. The elf character and his romance and the son was not a story I really cared much for in the first season. I thought it was cool when the son found this like
it's like a sword or
object
some
of
heirloom or
Morgoth,
something.
this blade of Mordor type deal. I thought that was really, really cool. But I don't think he serves much of a purpose now. Like, he's flexing that he did more for Adar than anyone else did because he's got little holes on his arm.
Yeah.
Whatever you want that
You like
to.
that? You like that?
You like that?
Mm.
I've done more than you guys.
Koba
have.
wants arm.
I just feel like he's spent. Like, he doesn't have anything else that he can really commit to the story now, or contribute, I should say. So that's where I feel with his character. I don't need to have him in this stepfather relationship dynamic with the elf. That's useless. I think the elf could be served better by actually trying to fight and try to do something justified and like make a proper heroic rebound from regards to his lover that died and things.
Rebound.
He's
Whoa.
doing that though, right? He's helping out like the village.
But reluctantly, I don't even know if he's helping out the village, because like he saves a seal door and then he starts walking off. I felt like he might as well just looked
He's
at a
got
seal
stuff
door and was
to
like,
do, man.
"Fuck you!" Like,
Well, he saved him. What else are you gonna do? Save a saved man?
I
jerk
felt
you
like
off
he was
too?
gonna.
Like,
I felt like he was gonna ask Isildur for like payment too after saving him. I don't know. Just he felt like
What type of elf is that?
He saved him just
You
enough
paid
because the
me
Isildur's like, hey, they took my horse, and he's like, I don't give a shit about your horse. I saved
Yeah.
your life. That's good enough, dude.
I just love when they're back in town and there's like a solid 5-minute scene of the elf just talking to the son. The son's paying no attention to it whatsoever, but they're just talking, they're holding bags, they're moving along. He's just giving them all this wisdom, and the son's just like, leave me the fuck alone.
You'll never
dude.
be
like,
my dad.
Yeah,
Fuck you.
like, you just used to sleep with my mom. Like, I don't give a shit about you. And the elf's just like, well, very well. And like, I am curious what happens with him, but yeah, I don't have much interest in him going forward, but I feel like we're going to see him a few more times. Maybe he'll give us something to chew on. I'm not that also enthralled with the Isildur storyline right now. I did like the reveal of that lady he was taking a liking to, had that mark on her back of her neck, and she like branded off. So like, okay, that's fun, but I don't know. It's tough for me to invest in a Isildur knowing what happens to him, you know? Like, it's...
I don't know if that like her mark was necessary. Well, they all pledged allegiance to Arda, so that's definitely not a good thing for them, because
No.
if you don't, you get fucking shanked really
was
quickly.
But was this like, I'm sure they're all against her will, but was it against her will, like she just did it to go along with it, or was she like,
I think most of them did do that. And
But
again,
what
we
if
know
she
that
didn't? What if she was like on the
we
front
know
line,
that
killing
like,
people?
Halbrand got his people, well, Sauron got his people freed, right? Which again, good guy Sauron, free my people and I'll help you.
Good nature.
Arda agreed and freed the people, so that's why it makes sense. Like, she's branded, but she's out there roaming around. But it seems like she denounces it, or she's either hiding it and is on like a secret mission trying to fuck them up, which I hope that's not the case. I hope she is genuinely just rescinding her vow to Arda, and it's just like burning that flesh scar off of there so she doesn't have to worry about it, because I got good vibes from her, and if she really wanted to kill him, then she could have killed him. She doesn't know. I don't think they talked about how he is really connected, right, to like
They
this
did.
the lineage. Does
I
she
thought-
know how important he is? Like, I'm just trying to see like what gain would she have if she is a spy? Is there any kind of advancement that benefit she would have to being with him?
I don't know if she knows, but the elf kind of gave that away. Because remember, they say something about the dad, like, he's like, oh, he left, but like he'll be back for you, and they never leave their people. So you're right. If she doesn't know the lineage, then you're fine. But if she knows of that, then it's, oh, fuck, this guy is a Sildor, you know? Like maybe there could be some use to him. And I just feel like for the dramatic beats of the show, she should probably know. Like I think that's something that'll play into it, you know? Maybe she gives him up for something. I don't know.
That's true. Now, Isildur does have kids eventually, right?
Well, he has to. Yeah, we got to get to all the heirs, right?
The heir of Elendil.
That's
'Cause
how
he's
we should
like
do
Aragorn's
it.
an heir.
Legally, this is not connected. To
Right.
the
Yeah. So he might not.
trilogy.
In this one, he might
That's
not.
true.
He might destroy the ring. You know, which I did. I did laugh that almost in every episode they had Elrond saying the rings must be
Yeah.
destroyed. So it was like, okay, I see. They had
Destroy
a couple. They had a couple of those like lines, but yeah, no, maybe this Isildur ends up being a hero, not a fucking coward.
Elrond's the one who's
He turns.
No.
Yeah.
he turns out.
I want my ring this time. Fucking
Bites
Hag
off
King.
Galadriel's finger for it, steals hers.
I think Astrid was her name, the girl who Isildur teams up with there. I'm trying to piece it all together, and like none of it really makes sense to me yet. So I'm curious, but I am intrigued to see where it goes, because I just think about the whole plot going on there, where she stabs him in the leg, okay, and then buddies up with him. Okay, that makes sense. They stumbled across this guy, and that's where I'm not sure of like, okay, was she part of this whole
Yeah.
plot? And the idea was to lead him to this guy. They would kill him. I guess they would just kill him and loot him. I'm not really sure what their plan was from there, because at that point she probably wouldn't have known who he is. But then he's the one who's like, hey, we should feed this guy. Like, give me that potato.
She kept saying,
whatever.
"Let's go," right? Like she didn't want to stay.
Yeah, like, and then he insists that she gives him foods, and that's the reason why he gets close to him, and then he gets tricked. So it makes me think that she didn't have anything to do with that. But then when I was watching that scene, Taylor, the one at the end when she unbrands herself, to me, at first I was like, okay, well, she is clearly just doing that to like continue being a spy, and this whole thing was a ruse, and like it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But at the same time, I feel like any of these followers wouldn't want to remove that brand, even to like shroud themselves. They would just make sure that it can never be visible to another person. So yeah, the more we even just hearing your theory, Taylor, it really throws mine off, because I'm realizing how fragile my theory is of like what she's doing or what her plot is there, or like who she would even be working with. That isn't just like one of these random like savage boy dudes that are living in the woods together and getting
Nasty
boys.
Yeah.
nasty boys. I forget what they had their word for them.
Adar, my nasty boys.
Yeah.
I was like, what did you do to my people? Why are they called the nasty boys? Oh, they're having kids now and everything.
But yeah, I guess I really loved that quick. It was a quick sequence, but I really liked watching Arondir fuck up all these men. I thought that was a really fun fight scene. Just shows how great of a fighter he is. I remember not loving everything from Arondir's storyline, but as a character, I think he's got a real presence to him. Like I'm intrigued by the character, and so it was cool to see him get to pop off a little bit there. But yeah, the rest of the Isildur stuff, he's so much of a doofus, and I just don't. I don't know.
I
Like maybe I
know,
should be
man.
expecting that, but I just feel like Lord of the Rings, in general, as an IP, like doesn't have a lot of doofuses to me. Like you'll have Gimli who's like cracking jokes, and like definitely in The Hobbit it gets more doofusy, but it's not really my, I guess, preferred cup of tea when it comes to Lord of the Rings. So
Guess
yeah, I'm not
Pippin would be the
loving
other one, too.
Isildur yet, but hopefully he gets to a more interesting spot.
Right? Like, wouldn't Pippin be in the classified doofus category as well, too?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say
You
any
don't think so?
of our characters are actually doofuses. But
How many trouble they get
To me,
into
there's
in Lord
like a
of the
difference
Rings?
between
They
being
touch
a fool
the.
and being a doofus, though.
Okay.
Like Isildur is just kind of
Yeah.
like a bumbling little doofus, whereas I feel like he's just like he's
Well-
very
Yeah.
childlike.
Even these 3 episodes, it's like he gets stabbed in the leg, he falls in that trap. I just feel like,
Yeah.
this is the guy that's going to be the king?
it's
Like,
like, oh,
this
shucks.
oh, he got me again. Like, I just,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty in the middle on Isildur right now. personally, I feel like I don't really need him like much in this show. Like I'm completely fine if we
Yeah.
would have just left him in Numenor.
He's like a
in
last
season
season
one.
thing to me.
Yeah,
It's like
and-
bring him in right, like, oh, okay, and then that's cool when he's like almost
Yeah.
ready. But
I have nothing against Isildur. Maybe to the fact that he stole the ring for himself and
of course,
put a lot
yeah.
of people.
A lot of
Legally
people
we
dead
can't talk
because
about
of
that
him.
right now
Yeah.
because that doesn't happen yet.
He
but-
he could kill a lot of people. This
Yeah.
guy, you look at him, he would be a guy that wouldn't give up the ring. Is what we're saying.
Yeah, and like I don't know, it's just like the subplot of like him feeling guilty for like his mom dying, like no one knows that like it was because of me, like like I just don't need this. Like I would rather be with Anatar right now, just having him corrupt everyone. Like like I just think that we could shave off. I mean, Travis, I think it was you that mentioned like you're fine with shaving off some of the Adar stuff, right? Like just there's certain areas of the show I feel like you can really trim down.
Everything with him, and for me, I know we and you especially like Numenor and everything. Get rid of everything going on right now there, in my
In
opinion.
Numenor?
With the blind queen, with the eagle, like
You want to get rid of Numenor?
you've told not
Oh,
get rid
you're
of that.
crazy.
Get rid of the storylines going on there. You told me because like I've not read the books a long time,
It's
so I take your word
fault,
for it.
Kirkland.
No,
I was about to say it's all-
you
Oh, no.
told me the Eagles are so important, so godlike. They only come down for the most important points of history in Middle Earth. They're coming down to ignite fucking eyebrows. McGee got my evil plan's working. Like they come down to like, Gaw, he's the king, Gaw,
No,
and they fly
that was
away.
Misconception. You could tell the eagle was like, okay, you guys aren't picking up what I'm putting down,
But-
and so he fucked off.
It's like
Either
fuck,
way.
wrong door. Sorry guys.
But like, why is the eagle coming down to give his opinion on this person should be king? Like to me, that didn't track. Yeah, no, I don't like anything happening at Numenor right now. It's all stuff that I could skip the next time I rewatch the show. It's not.
I feel
get
like
rid
it's
of it all.
Palantir instigated. Like this thing just obviously like popped off, and this eagle. I feel like they're powerful.
Did shit
tools.
all.
Well, I think because then the eagle landed and realized like what the fuck are you guys doing? Because what were they, like Fenero or whatever the fucking guy's name
Farazan.
was. Farazan. The eagle's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And it just left. So.
But that's what the eagle just leave. Yeah, it just leaves like, oh shit, this is a problem. Why'd I even come? I just didn't like it. It just didn't make sense for me.
I have no idea why that eagle was there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something in the book. I do not remember that at all. I didn't even know they really had much dealings with the Numenorians like around this time. I feel like I just know them as kind of an ally to our forces of good. Like they popped up in like the major battles, obviously in the Return of the King era, but also in like the War of Wrath, like when our forces are fighting against Morgoth. Like they're just kind of always an ally to our good guys. I just was really surprised that it was there on the balcony, and I guess I just don't know much about like the history of Numenor. Like they seem like it was a sign of like the heavens, like the eagles are choosing Farazan. I did not get that much at all in that moment. To speak
No.
on just what's going on with Numenor right now, I don't mind it. I just feel like it's fast for us to already be at this level of discourse where it's like a civil war already happening in Numenor, and like minor spoiler, but like Sauron's not even there yet, and like this is already happening. Like what's gonna happen if he eventually gets there
Men
and
are
like
weak.
actually starts corrupting people? Like I do like the fact that throughout the world we are seeing just the effects of like this evil rising in the world, right? Like Khazad-dûm is starting to just like cave in. Numenorians are just like at each other's throats, but I just feel like it's really fast to already be like making claims for the throne at this point in time. It just feels really fast, especially that we haven't even really seen much Numenor so far in this season. And in the first episode that we really go there, they're already like about to overthrow the queen. Like I just, it feels really fast to me. I'm curious what the next episode is going to look like.
They were
for
there
Numenor.
last season, though, right? Sauron
Oh,
took
yeah.
a little stop. So I wonder if they could backtrack and say, like, he did a little something while he was there, left a little, piece of himself, and that started.
Yeah, don't
Some
like
I can't remember
that.
what he was doing when he was
Same.
there.
Well, he was just Halbrand, right? Like he was just still that persona. Like he was.
Yeah,
He was like the
but-
king of the Southlands, and then he was traveling to Middle Earth with them.
Yeah, he took a dump in someone's backyard and just let it
Yeah.
fester the whole time, So
He was working on Galadriel. That's what he was doing.
he was, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, no. You guys Any thoughts on Numenor?
No, I just times two what you said, Travis. I'm not digging it so far, and I hope it gets a little bit more interesting. But yeah, I think I was more intrigued with it in the first season when we had some of our key players there, and now you're just leaving me with like the scraps, and then we're like trying to make a new storyline with the scraps that are there, without adding any like new compelling characters. So yeah, hopefully it picks up because I've been hearing a lot about this Numenor place. And it's got to live up to the hype. Same thing.
I think it just looks pretty,
You made me too hyped for Numenor, so I got to get.
It's a very significant place, right?
Just
like,
this nice
that's
statues.
Aragorn. That's Aragorn's peoples from. Like that's a big deal. All of like.
Well, we'll see. Isildur ain't there anymore. He's over in Parlergar hanging out with some other people. So.
Parangir or whatever
At
the
some
hell
funerals.
it was. Yeah.
Apparently, because Muriel is the blind queen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, an eagle had appeared at the coronation of her father, becoming king. So I guess an eagle was appearing here for her coronation, but the cousin guy just took advantage of the chaos. And
Yeah, that's a wild claim. He's here for me. It's Farazan. It's actually so much funnier if that is the case.
All
The
hail
eagle's just like,
Farazan.
what the
All
fuck is
hail
going on
Farazan.
here?
Any peasant could get up there and be like, "Hail, Travis Snell! Hail, Travis Snell!"
The eagle came. He came for me.
I remember the eagle when I was a child. With
The
that
eagle
note,
doesn't give a shit. He's like, what? Fuck it, I'm out of here.
Just give me my money and I'm out of here. Like,
That's why they're nowhere in Lord of the Rings. Like, we gave up on Middle Earth. They fucking suck down there. Taylor, that factoid you had, was that from like show wiki or book wiki?
that about the
queen
Muriel's
and
father.
the whole, yeah.
Not actual wiki. It was just a quoted comment. I
Okay,
think,
so it's from the show. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, again, I just never had in my mind that the Eagles came down to get involved in political side of things, and I don't. I
Well,
never.
Numenor is different, right? Because Numenor has much more.
matter.
Don't they have like more of like a close affinity with the Valar?
well, yeah, like, yeah, the origins of Numenor are very like elf influenced. Like Elrond's dad was the first king of Numenor, actually, Elros, and like throughout the years, obviously now like Farazan is saying like
king.
he's basically saying like we don't trust elf artifacts. Like it's very distance from what the actual origin of that are. And I think actually in episode 3, what is the gentleman's name? Valandil, like Isildur's buddy from the first season, when he's interfacing with those guys in the courtyard, he's about to scrap.
Yeah.
He says something like a prayer, like something along the lines of like, "May the force be with you," but like, "May the Valar
Bitches
always be
get
watched."
stitches.
Like something like those lines. Like he still is loyal to the Valar, where it makes me think that like Farazan and like those crew are very anti against that. So I think we'll be seeing more of that in this season, of just like the split in that, especially just their beliefs of what you said, like the tie to the Valar and things like that.
Do we
And
see
again-
the destruction of Numenor this season?
No.
Fallen Numenor, it's coming.
Not
we'll
this
get that
season.
before
We
Gil-galad
already had
dies. I'll tell you
visions
that
of it
much.
Last season,
We're
so I
getting a
feel
lot
like
of visions of it in the
That'd be
last
kind of
season.
crazy to foreshadow that in season 1 and then not do it now. But I don't know. Like I said, we're already like halfway through the season, pretty much. So
I don't think we'd get it this season.
I don't
I think
think
we're
so.
getting, because we're getting the Aragian stuff. Yeah, I futures, like it will happen in the show at some point, but
right,
I don't think right now, unless it gets canceled.
unless it gets canceled.
Fucking Eagles, man.
Like the Acolyte, waiting on those storylines to keep going.
I think this will at least get a season 3, but let's see. Well, I'm not gonna say for sure. I'm gonna say they'll do it, but I'm waiting to
I
see.
haven't heard anyone like hyped about this upcoming season. People that were like into the first season.
And I just feel like when you start to get those memes going, that's when the tide. We saw with Acolyte. That's when the tide starts to turn. When the show starts to get made fun of, that's when I saw those baby orc memes. Like, this isn't good. This is not what
Halo.
this is. Yeah,
They
that's
just want to
season
sell
1 and 2.
some cute baby orc merch. Pull the Disney approach.
Yeah,
There.
like-
You gotta have a cute little creature in each one of your properties.
There's like 2 types of memes. There's like that you're in on the joke and you're not on the joke, and that's what's like you don't want that for your show, and because that will deter people. And I think for GA, I think for some people, unless you love Lord of the Rings, it is tough because it moves so slow. I can see so many
Yeah.
people being, and that was what happened last season, right? Was it was the midway point, and then it like dropped big time. People just gave up on the show because I think it just was. I think the problem is because even when I pulled up the IMDb again, all the trailers are like showing meteors crashing things and battles. Like all the previews for the show is look at all these battles and like science fiction or like fantasy stuff going on. But when you get to the show, it has some of that, of course. But like even like Gandalf, we haven't talked about him, right? I'm sure in the trailer it looks great when he throws on his staff and it's a big sandstorm and whatnot. But in the actual show, it's just kind of like, oh, a moment to take out a few guys. Where I feel like in the trailers they make that look like, wow, it's gonna be this huge set piece. And I still like those characters. I find it funny that the Harfeet, like, man, did they grow up into, like, they were like, I don't even want to say how old they were. I just felt like they were young adults when the show started. Now it's like, oh, these are just like young ladies. Like, it was just odd. It was like, man, what, we've been traveling for a while.
Yeah.
I found it very odd because I actually really liked them in season 1. I liked their friendship. So I think it was a con for me in season 1 when they split up. It's Nori and who's her friend
Poppy.
here? Poppy. I was like, oh, that's a bummer. Why did they split them up? Like, keep them together. And then just episode 1 or whenever they introduced it, like, actually, Poppy's back and we're just hanging out. So it's like, okay, same thing as like the finale with Sauron going to Mordor. It's like that didn't really pay off, but I'm glad they're together. And this is a storyline I still gotta wait and see because I feel like if this show goes on for 5 seasons, I think every season Gandalf's going to be traveling somewhere, doing some little task. Like, he's going to be like the Daenerys of Lord of the Rings, where it's not till like the final seasons where, oh, Dany finally gets to come to Westeros and meet all the other characters. Like, I feel like Gandalf's going to be side quest city for seasons and seasons. And there's things I like about it. There's things I don't. I'm still confused about like, I guess they're trying to say now that he's remembering some things and he's been to certain situations before, but it's odd where he's supposed to be almost like a character with amnesia, but he's always giving them like words of wisdom. It's like, well, this doesn't make sense how you know that, but now I kind of see where they're going with it. So that one's like I like it so far, but it's more wait and see. And then my last point is they have that, I don't know, what is he, the evil, what's that guy, the guy that played the devil in Ghost Rider Ghost Rider 2, Taylor, he's in the show as like
The
Who's
Dark
that?
Wizard.
Yeah, the Dark Wizard. So I just love, he's like, well, I sent one of my like he says apostles or assistants. There's that tracker guy, right? He has the gold
Acolytes,
mask.
I think they're called.
Acolytes.
Yeah, so he's like, I sent one of my acolytes after Gandalf, paraphrasing. What makes you think you can take him out? And he's like, well, he has, hard-fit friends, and I'm going to use them as hostages. And the Dark Wizard's like, oh, my God. Like, I just, like, his
Fucking genius.
It reminds me, it's played off in a genuine way in The Dark Knight when the goons go to Joker. They said, what's the plan? And Joker goes, oh, well, we kill the Batman. Everyone laughs at him, and Joker's dead serious. And this was the reversal of that, where it's just like, it feels like the Dark Wizard's not in on the joke, and it just was very odd that that's his plan to take off Gandalf is, well, we're going to kidnap these hobbits or these halflings. And so I like what's going on, but I'm not in love with it yet. We'll see. I still actually like the actor playing Gandalf, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoyed that whole the sequence in all 3 episodes. I don't think there's a whole lot for me to break down, honestly,
Yeah.
but I just love a good travel sequence, especially when so much of those seem to be just automatic fast travel in this show. I like that we're just having a sequence of traveling through the beautiful lands, a little thing here or there that stops them in their tracks and they got to solve it. And then the situation with these people following them. We'll see how that goes in terms of like that villain clan going after them and how intriguing that ends up being. But even if it's just like, I don't know, a little tension to add on to their travel sequence, that's fine for me too. I really like that sequence where Gandalf goes down, they take him to the water well, and just like for me that was really good tension there of just like that well and the thing smashing that thing over and over again. It's so much more aggressive than it needs to be to get that idea across that they're making noise. But to me, it like almost worked on like a horror movie where like, oh shit, they're gonna get caught here. So I really liked that whole sequence. I really like just how uncontrolled he is with his powers, but how powerful they can potentially be. We saw that with the beetles and the food, and how it was different than what he expected there. But then the sandstorm just being like this massive attack that is.
Well, he killed the
potentially-
Harfoots, right?
What's that?
He killed Nori and Poppy.
Yeah, they're dead now. So we're
Can
gonna
you
get some new Harfoots
imagine
for the rest of the show.
episode 4? He just walks. What have I done? Like, he's just there at their dead body, and that's why he's so indebted to hobbits and Lord of the Rings, because
exactly it.
he feels like
trying to pay it
he's atoning for what he did to Nori. He goes back to the Harfoots. Where's my daughter? Oh, the Dark Wizard, man. He's a mysterious man and his acolytes. Oh God.
So yeah, that sequence all good with me.
You guys got any thoughts, or we were skipping?
Yeah,
again?
I'm glad that Poppy and Nori reunited. They're honestly my favorite portions about all of my Gandalf sequences that we're getting right now. I don't mind like our Astari coming to Middle Earth, like to do his basically just do his purpose of helping the forces of good defeat Sauron. I don't know. Just every time we go to them, I wasn't a fan of the assassins. I really like the opening sequence when we go to Rune, and just seeing like that place because that's never been shown. Like I really have very limited knowledge on just what goes on there, other than the armies that come in the events of Return of the King. But
Especially as someone who's played a shit ton of the Lord of the Rings Risk game, and that's always one of the regions, but you never
right,
go there. I think.
forgot
and so
about
I've always
that. That was
wondered,
in
like, I don't have no point of reference of what that place is like. So it's fun to have that.
yeah, it was cool to see that and just have like a different dark wizard and their little acolyte setup that they have. It's like a temple, or it just feels dark and creepy, and I liked seeing that location. I don't mind. I don't know. I say I don't mind, but I feel like maybe I do mind. I'm pretty.
You still don't like that as Gandalf. I can hear it in your voice, right? Is that it? That you're
I
That's a
was gonna
mind fuck.
wait for him to finish, but I feel like he's finished. So
I got got. I got got.
I don't know. I think I'm a lot more accepting of it now. Like it's.
I can hear it. You're like a
it's just-
parent who like met their child's boyfriend or girlfriend. Like I don't fucking like this person, but you're like, oh yeah, Timmy's great. Like he's
But,
a good
like,
guy.
It's tricky because like I like the idea of him having this early interaction with Harfoots, and that kind of like just starts like the spark
Yes.
of his love for hobbits by the events. And again, they're not tied legally by any means, but I still just like that pairing.
Even
in
the books,
general.
right? Like they go like he's tied
Yeah.
to the hobbits, right? And I agree with
Yeah,
you. I like that
exactly.
aspect. So
I do like that of just these because it's just such a big world with so many big powers and moving pieces. Just the effect that just little folk can have on the world. Like that's just that's a big theme overall. Just in Lord of the Rings, like just it doesn't take much to have change or put in. What the fuck am I trying to say here? Put change forth. Jesus Christ.
not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the
There
fight
you
in the
go.
dog,
That
you
sounds
know?
better than what I said. But I
Can't
feel
carry
like
you,
all
but
my
I can
favorite
carry.
sequences are with pretty much just the chemistry of what the Hardfoots have. Like even just them interacting with our stranger. Some of that is fun. Dylan, you pointed out just like his wild magic that he has right now. It's fun. Like I like just how early it is in his career of being this wizard, but I just feel like maybe we're spending way too many sequences with him, and that's wild to say that since we've only had 3 episodes, but I just would rather spend those scenes elsewhere right now. But yeah.
I'm just still thinking what Taylor said, that they killed them.
All I'm saying is that scene, they were fucking gone. They went up into the skies.
Till
Like,
next week, I'm gonna think about that multiple times a week of Gandalf just killing the
I'm still thinking about
Harfoots.
when Taylor said that Adar skull fucked Sauron. That's just still in my head.
I feel like Sauron, like for this mask, like he didn't hear the switch. He didn't know that helmet was coming down on him.
no,
you know,
he
but-
looked at the ground, put his head down.
Yeah, he's taking
Wild
a little
move.
nap.
Wild
you
move
know?
to have him
Head
crown
on the
him in first
ground.
place.
Yeah.
There's,
and they also before. Oh, go ahead, Taylor.
I was gonna say like there's an interesting quote here about Sauron.
Let's circle back to Sauron.
circle back. Sauron can now just be Sauron, like Tony Soprano or Walter White in season 2. He's evil, but complexly evil. We felt like if we did that in season 1, he'd overshadow everything else. So the first season is like Batman Begins, and The Dark Knight is the next movie with Sauron maneuvering out in the open.
Get this off my screen.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
You're trying to compare Sauron to Batman Begins. Everyone's like, that's the best Bruce Wayne story out there. We know nothing fucking about this guy. These writers, my God. Oh, yeah. Before you go to, they did hint also we're going to get his staff, and they were trying to name him this episode, which is like,
Oh yeah,
we're
solo situation.
yeah, I don't like that. I'm like, what about this thing? Like, oh, you'll feel it in your heart. It's like, that's not exactly how it works. I did like when she's like, how about Roderick? And they both like, you already said that, like Pip, what's her name again? What's the P name again? Poppy and Gandalf at the same time against Stare. Like, you already said that. Like, so they, again, fun little trio there. But you're getting the staff of the name coming up soon.
Staff
Which
and
name is it going to be? Do you think it's going to be Gandalf? Or it's going to be something
Gandalf?
different? I was really worried that when she said like Godric or whatever the fuck it was, he's
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I like that, and he
he
just has that
stopped.
for this show because they could do that. They could change his
Yeah.
name technically.
They'll just whip out Mithrandir.
It's tough because I feel like this show goes for the. I'm not saying it goes for fan service, but it kind of does. Like, remember, Kirkland, you were mad last year when you're like, why is there a Balrog already at Khazad-dûm and stuff like
Balrog.
that?
Oh, I'm still
Yeah.
not over that. I'm
So
still not over that.
I feel like it's gonna be like a Gandalf sounds good, and it's gonna be like there'll be a chime, and I'll be like, it's Gandalf. Like, I think it's gonna, or I have many names, but I feel like Gandalf will be said.
Okay, what do we got? We got.
I think we're getting the G name for
Gandalf.
sure.
The
We
what?
got.
What'd you say, Kirkland?
The G name. I think we're getting the G name.
They
think I
said
said?
Genie. They're gonna. What's your name?
Getting the G.
Call me Genie.
That's in the book. You know, big character.
Aloran apparently is another name he has. Interesting.
Lauren.
Aloran, yeah. So the Harfoots, yeah, they're this story. I thought it was cute in the first season, and I
Gonna
know-
miss them.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss them. You know, we didn't
That's
have
like-
long enough time with them.
Dave's putting it out there. He wants them to die in the tornado.
Like, what happens? Like, the tornado stops and they fall 500 feet down, and
They
like,
land in
impale on
water.
the ground. They land
Land
in
in the
water in the
sand.
Or a
desert.
bush.
No.
Yeah, or big sand. Like,
Or they're
in-
falling, and the ruined soldiers shooting arrows at them or something.
Gandalf's just watching him massacred in the air. Put us down, Gandalf! I can't!
Spinning them around
control
like
it.
Saruman was doing them.
He's just
Poor
Puts
thing.
down Gandalf. He's like, "That's my name," and that distracts them, and they just fall from the
As he's
sky
like
and
turning the
splatter
sand into like a
down.
blender, he's just ripping them to pieces and everything. No, they just land somewhere soft. That's easy. They'll land in a bush somewhere and like, oh my goodness. And maybe it's going to be an episode where they're split apart because I guarantee the Dark Wizard's going to have some scene with Gandalf alone. And Gandalf doesn't have his moral compass to little people. He's like, maybe I do want to just fuck shit up. I don't know. Like, you know, they're going to be
He's in
split
the
up.
same speech that old guy gave Sauron. You know, you keep doing bad things, and bad just becomes your nature.
Bad nature.
Fuck. I'm not a fan of the Dark Wizard, any of that stuff. Having what was it, like the Eminem hairdo back, like I'm just not a fan of the acolytes. Or Vanilla Ice or whatever the fuck.
What are you talking about? He had long blonde hair.
No,
Or long
no,
white
she's
hair.
talking about
The
the
young-
acolyte. From
Remember
the
the one
Acolyte,
who died
yeah.
in season
Oh,
one?
yeah. No, that wasn't good.
The
Yeah.
eye.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the
But they're
acolytes.
not
in
back.
there.
There's the,
What?
they got the new assassins now, you know?
The new assassins are cool. I like their armor. I like their look. I think they're super cool.
Get a good
but
lot
But
of
the-
too Star Wars for me,
They did look a little too
and we're also like on some
Out of
desert
place.
planet kind of thing. So
yeah.
but
That's fair.
Fuck.
I just am ready to move on from
Good
like the Dark
twist.
Wizards. I don't know why they're so focused on like the East Star, and maybe that's a story that will become more interesting as we go along. But so far, I'm not impressed because like you already covered Travis. Like he's like, did I waste the blood on you? Like my acolytes can't even take down this East Star. What are you gonna do? And, like we already said, like, well, we'll kill the halflings. Or whatever. It's like, brilliant. It's just they're all fucking idiots. So I'm just excited for them to get out of the desert and go find Tom Bombadil. I want Bombadil in there.
Oh, I was gonna say I think we're in the desert at least for like half the season too. So buckle up. I think we're there for a little bit more. Yeah, I forgot about Tom Bombadil. I can't wait. Fuck yeah.
yeah, he's in here.
Oh,
right?
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Can't
Yeah,
fucking
that's-
wait. Played by Rory
I'm
Keir, the
scared
guy.
about that.
He's played by the guy from Mendel, and the guy that plays all the men and men.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
It'd be interesting to see where he does come in though. If he comes in with Celebrimbor, like, oh, I got here. You making some rings, or
He's at the funeral.
Oh, I
for the
forgot. I
Harfoot.
so forgot that was a part of the show. Oh no, I'm worried for that to
Where
happen
does
now.
he? Where
Yeah,
does
why
he
is
hang out?
Tom
Kirkland? Where do you
hater?
think we'd see him? Like
I have no
physically on
idea.
the map?
That's what I
He's
like.
gonna be more wooded area, in my
I feel
opinion.
there's woods all over the place, right?
I guess, but I just meant like because Gandalf's on the woods right now. So I mean, like when Gandalf and them get to some woods, that's when Tom's gonna pop up.
well, we've seen like the Black Forest where the orcs are, and Ardas. Maybe he's hiding around that forest.
No one survives in there.
What's my beef with it, Travis? I just don't trust the show to do a good job
Right,
with that
right.
character at all. Because like the character Tom Bombadil, it's it's like a legend amongst the Tolkien universe, not even just the Lord of the Rings story, because like the character was literally just made, I think, from like Tolkien and his brother just had this idea for a character to like throw in this universe that's just it's like a character out of time that just is there that no one really has explanations for. Like there's just so many theories out there on really what the origin of this character is, and the answer is just like there is no answer. It's just like more or less an Easter egg type character that like Tolkien had. And I don't know, people like people might have different theory like views than me on this character, and I think they're all correct because it's just like a mystery of a character, and I just don't want him to be like a plot device, like not a plot device, but just a character that pushes a plot for our story. Because he, in the Fellowship of the Ring, they make a big point of emphasis in the Elrond Council that, like, why don't we just give the ring to Tom Bombadil? But it's like, you can't do that because he just does not care about any of these main events that would be going on. He would lose the ring. He would just, he is so not,
on his own path.
He's so disinterested in everything that's going on in this world. So why do we have to have him in
like
the show? What is he going to do in the show to like push it forward?
But because he could just be an interesting character. I feel like the way you're describing him, not that I've ever thought about this, but he sounds almost like Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen, where he's the most powerful being, but he's just there, right? Like he doesn't care about everybody,
like
but he does care about them.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't know much about Watchmen, but I feel like he does stuff though, like in the plot. No, Dr. Manhattan.
He does eventually,
clones
but
of himself have sex with.
well, not
I've
that,
seen that.
but just that general sense of when they tell him like there could be a bomb, and he's like, well, there's nothing different. Like the matter between a living body and a dead body, they're the exact same. Like he says shit like that where you're like, man, like we're at war. Like you're supposed to care about this, and that's the way Tom is. And hey, shout out to people that played Battlefield Earth 2 because he was an OP character when you could unlock him, and he was
in Battle.
Yeah, you can use him as like he wasn't a character because you start off with like your lackeys, right? Like men, archers, everything, and then you can buy like your heroes. But then there's like power ups, and he would come out and he would just like he would do like skips, and he had like magic around him, and yeah, I think he could do shit like fuck people up while healing you and stuff. But yeah, he was like he had like a time like he'll be there for like a minute and a half, then go away. Oh, like I said, next stream we need to bust out a 360. We need to bust out Battlefield Earth 2. Like it's in there, and that's where it started my love. I was like, who's this Tom Bombadil guy? And then I was like, okay, the rest is history. And he makes it sound go boom boom boom. Who does that in the game? And stuff, so.
Tom Bombadillo. He better be doing some crazy songs in the show.
Oh
so.
yeah.
I hope I at least enjoy the performance. I just am really worried that it's going to be like he's riding in on the fucking eagle and he's choosing Farazan as the ruler of Numenor. Like
shouting
no.
Just I don't care about everything, but I love
Farazan.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
See what happens.
I guess the dwarves. Is the last thing we're talking about?
I got nothing to add.
Nothing to add
Not
on
a
the
single
dwarves.
point on the
Still
dwarves.
father-son drama.
It's not bad, but I'm already over the fault. We had it last season. We're still going. It's gonna keep going. I like the dwarves, but I don't know if I care. I like the dwarves in a group. I don't know if they're the lowest on the totem pole for me as far as the people.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have them quite a bit higher on my ranking list if I had to do that right now. I feel like because it's just been so long since I've seen season 1, I just kind of forgot how much I love like these characters, and just even like Durin interacting with oh my gosh, what's her name?
Diza.
Diza. Like that sequence, or the two Durins interacting, or the other Durin.
Durin
Sorry,
Senior?
their names are both
with
Durin.
Dizzy. Yeah.
Well, at least call one senior and one junior. So we
Yeah,
can
sure.
track
So
it.
so senior, junior, junior. Like I think I just I love seeing Khazad-dûm. I just love the throne rooms. I love seeing like the guards in their garb. Just getting more like highlights on the dwarven realms is great to see, because it's really lacking in my experience of seeing the films, because I have not seen the Hobbits. But I don't know. It's just as a fan of like the way dwarves are in like high fantasy, like it's just kind of cool to see these realms, and so all of that I am enjoying. And I really just like Desi as a character, or Diza. I already messed up her name. I just, she's fantastic. Like she is so good on she's my favorite dwarf right now. So
She's
I think
definitely
she's great.
taken center stage for the dwarves. I feel like this season, which is cool because she was definitely a number 2 or 3 behind Durin Jr. in the first
Yeah,
season.
for
in my
sure.
opinion.
I almost thought that she's gonna get killed in that one episode when the earthquake happened. I thought, oh, we're getting Durin's Bane. This fucking going down
She gets
now.
poppied. She gets hard-footed right off the cliff.
Yeah. Gandalf sends a
Crushed by
fucking
rock.
hurricane fighting Durin's Bane in the mines.
Takes out all of Khazad-dûm.
All of Khazad-dûm.
I'm with Kirkland here. I really enjoyed all. Well, I'm not gonna say all the dwarven stuff. I think that the father son dynamic there was just maybe a bit like dragging my heels to get through some of it. I think there's some decent moments in there, but overall just like maybe took a bit too longer than it needed to. But what I really like is just kind of the lore, the world building part of it, because a lot of it did feel almost like slice of life, or it has felt like that so far. Where there is this plot where Durin is going to Erengion, making a deal with Celebrimbor to trade some mithril for rings. So like that's a plot that connects with everything else. That makes sense. But then for the most part, it's just like, okay, they're dealing with their cave collapsing. They're losing access to their light, which I really loved seeing some of that shot, like following the series of mirrors through there to see how they get the lighting on their different like crops and even just like the different points of the city. And what it's like when they lose that and they don't have that light anymore and they can't grow their crops, they're going to have to go into their reserves. Like all that stuff is really interesting to me. And I kind of forget if like the Stone Singer stuff, like with Diza and these other women was part of, like, I don't remember that being a thing in season 1. Maybe it was mentioned in passing, but I really like that as a lore thing. I think that's really interesting that like they're through their like really strong voices in like what is naturally a place that is going to echo a lot. Like they can use that to try and find new ways through these caves, or like I guess they can like find it through walls and stuff. Like it's almost like a magical power in a sense that they can use to navigate through here. And that's how they determine that, like, okay, we could blow some holes through there, but then we feel like the whole thing would crumble down. And I just think seeing that kind of that dwarven engineering at work there through these little conversations, I really liked all that stuff. And I just, once again, the visuals of Khazad-dûm is so fucking awesome all the time. And even just getting like that little sequence of one of the assistant guys, I don't know his name, when he's walking through, and in the background you're just seeing other dwarves who are like peddling their wares or trading, or like, you know, I presume they're all kind of like, okay, we're running low on resources here, or we know we're going to, so they're trying to maybe barter for stuff that they have a lot of. I really liked all of that, and it's just a place I like to hang out and exist. So yeah, I really enjoyed that whole dwarven sequence that we got through the different episodes here.
Taylor, any thoughts on drawers or?
No, I'm dwarfed out.
Oh, second season of Rings of Power. I'm dwarfed out, guys.
The
I've had
flame is
it.
out.
Are you like me, where it's like you like the dwarves and you just don't need as much as this stuff, or are you just no dwarves
Like,
whatsoever?
I like them, but I'm kind of with you. Like, I feel like the dynamics that we've seen so far with them has just been the same from season 1. I wish that we got to expand more on them dealing with Celebrimbor. I feel like
Which I think that's what we're getting to at least. Like that's,
yes, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
That's what I really want to explore more, and that relationship. Also, seeing like King Durin like out and about, that's fucking huge. And I wish that they emphasized that a little bit more. I mean, he's bringing the mithril to them, but it was such a quick cut scene. We got more of them singing in the caverns and the earthquakes, and them like angry, like I'm not, my son should apologize to me and stuff like that. It's like, well, we have.
what
already
was
had
he
all
doing
that
with his
dynamic.
hands there? what was Durin doing while he's having this conversation?
Blisters on their hands, right? You know,
Yeah. Which I'm moving forward.
palace hands.
Yeah, and that's why even when I said like I don't have much to add on it, that's why I still wouldn't cut it though, because I think all the drawers and the characters will lead to hopefully good things and good interactions. Like it's already fun seeing them interact with Sauron, Celebrimbor, and stuff. Where that's where like with Adar, it's like, yeah, I don't need him anymore, right? We can move on. Even the Sildor, it's like, yeah, I don't really need him anymore. But with the drawers, like, oh, I know. I'm saying as Kirkland and Dylan, like I love seeing that stuff, but it's like I feel like I got my fill of Khazad-dûm in season 1, so like I don't need, and I really just don't need any more scenes of him and his wife bickering anymore. Like it's just like some people I get might like it, but I just like it's just all I did in season 1. So here we are again.
We never
It's
see the
just-
kids. The what are they?
We did in season
The
1.
Weens.
Did we
The
see them in the
Weens.
first
Yeah.
season?
We did in season 1.
I
Yeah, they
totally
meet
forgot.
Elrond. Yeah, they meet Elrond and stuff. Which that was fun when he like Sauron's like, oh, he spoke so highly of you, and Durin's like, he said nothing to you. And then when they walk out, he's like, he's lying. And she's like, what do you mean he's lying? And he's like, Elrond wouldn't say a single thing like that about me, like as far as a compliment and everything. So again, I like that dynamic, and I'm excited to see Elrond back with Durin at some point because that's probably the best stuff. And even I will say the guy that's playing Elrond, I'm liking him more this season than last season. I still think sometimes they make him a little too just react, like he does a lot of reacting and a lot of like smiling or a sad face. But I remember being a little harder on him in season 1. So far, I'm liking him a bit more. Maybe it's because they're giving him some urgency, as he's like the only elf that wants to fucking do something. So maybe that's why. But
I just realized a big con I have, and it was when Sauron was coming out of the fire and flames there of the forge, and he looks at Celebrimbor and he says, "You could be the Lord of the Rings." I was like, "Fuck, that's way too on the nose. That's not great."
I think don't they? Do they not drop that line in the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy though in the book? I'm not saying that's why Taylor has to like it.
Saruman says, or no, Gandalf says there's only one Lord of the Ring.
Yeah.
Which fits.
Yeah.
But he does not share.
Yeah.
Well, technically, he would, Caliburn, if this all worked out, he would be the Lord of the Rings. I'm not saying you have to like the line. I'm just saying, like, it could track, you know? Like it. Like,
that speaks to a man's ego right there.
Oh, it sure does.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, I like that. Lord of the Rings.
Anything else? Good. Half an hour, Calvin just like drinking his wine, like yes. Anything we haven't? Let me look through my notes. Anything we haven't touched upon?
My last thing. It's not even. There's no discussion to be had, but just a lot of Mount Doom, a lot of volcano action going on in this.
Yep.
I mean, quick shots, but we're bubbling up to something. That's for sure.
Ooh, I love the shots of just it in the background and like in the distance of just. As you said, something's bubbling. Something nefarious is smoking up the air. I
see them lines.
And even the parts with like the parts where like the lava kind of crusts over and it almost looks like an eye, the eye of Sauron a little bit. So I like all the imagery that we got.
What Dave said. Episode 3, I was in shock when the Queen Regent just took that slap from like a random civilian at Numenor.
Oh yeah.
I get what they were trying to do with that scene. She's like, I feel your pain too, and they hugged. They both lost a child, but I was like, I don't know if that would fly. I think that woman would be executed on the fucking
She's
spot.
losing that hand
at least the hand. But yeah, walked right up. How can I help you? Yeah, I can help me. just UFC open palm slapped her. I was like, whoa, what a way to go. And yeah, we'll see. I didn't get that far into it. Were they hiding the fact that she was blind? Right? Am I remembering that wrong, or did the public know that she was blind?
I don't know if the public knows.
I thought it was a secret, if I remember correctly.
I just feel like with what we saw, they ain't doing a good job. They're letting her walk backwards. They're letting her like look at people. Like it just, I feel like maybe they did catch on this episode because what the new Eagle King was like, she's full of lies. But I don't know. I just feel like they're not doing a good job of keeping that secret. But who knows? That's all my notes, though. It was just a slap. I was very surprised.
I remembered one more line from Sauron when he's about to be
back
freed.
To Sauron with you, isn't it?
Yeah, let's circle back. Yeah,
Circle back
we didn't get it all. We had a whole hour on Sauron,
Just didn't get it out. When Adar is like, oh, pledge your allegiance to me. And Sauron, he's on the ground, and he's that sneaky little dog. He's like, I pledge my allegiance to the Lord of Mordor.
Yeah, the true leader of Mordor.
The true leader. Oh, you sly son of a gun.
And then there's a cutscene.
Lives.
Yeah.
Wink, yeah.
And then there's a cutscene of Adar just like, say my name. I need my name. And like, all right, I'll say it, But for the show, he didn't. Anything else?
Any more Sauron notes there, Taylor?
Yeah, you sure?
Give me another 10 minutes. I could find one.
Yeah, sure.
Let's wait around for 10
Let's circle back to the tornado. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I don't think in the future, other than the finale, these reviews will be this long. But we had a lot to cover. 3 episodes, 3.5 hours. So a combination of us will be here weekly for the next few weeks. What do you have, Taylor? What do you got?
Saying a lot of character deaths this episode.
Yeah, tons of character deaths. So. But there'll be a combination of us here every week to cover this. And let us know. We have a whole Discord channel dedicated to this show now. So you go over there, drop your thoughts, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to. You can always send a question too, or a correction if hey, you guys missed this because of this, or hey, what do you think about this? What do you got over there, Chuckles?
I'm just laughing at your lament to what the fuck's it called? Lament to Gollum. I see the light.
And they are true.
Great way to end.
You're gonna go to bed and it's gonna be stuck in
Literally,
your head.
literally, yeah.
Because it's such a weird fucking song. It's Two Towers. It's a minute of just like great music, and then I see them light, and it's like, where'd it come? And like, it's a very unique voice. It's just like. It's
Nasally,
quite a
yeah.
choice. It's quite a choice. But yeah, hopefully maybe in the penultimate episode of this show they get her back and she gets another ditty out there, you know?
That'll be the Tom Bombadil scene.
that's
He
his
just sings that
theme.
song.
He sings it. It's right. He speaks in song. I say them lies. All right, let's end this. It's late, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and we promise you it'll not be boring.
Bye, everyone.
Boy.